Yes, we did it, y'all. We did it. Welcome to the 3D live stream. Happy Saturday to y'all. Thank you for your patience. I really appreciate you guys hanging in with us while we were taking care of some technical difficulties. You know how it is. Sometimes there's a lot of ones and zeros flying around, and you know, there was a couple more ones and zeros flying around this morning. So all good. There might be a little camera glitch going on, but whatever. This isn't about me today. This is about all of the artists who won the Infinite Journeys Challenge. So we're having on the winners. I'm going to interview them all. We're going to talk about their workflows. We're going to talk about how they went about creating their art. We're going to talk about their breakdowns. We're doing a bunch of CG breakdowns today with all the winners from the Infinite Journeys 3D Community Challenge. So it's going to be sweet. We're going to have 4 of the 5 on today for you. And very, very soon here, we're going to get started with Tyler. You're going to recognize his art as soon as I play it on screen. It's going to be amazing. What else? Yeah, so after we do the interviews, I'm basically going to do a little weekly challenge review and announce the 5 winners of the weekly challenge. So that'll be exciting. And I'm just excited to get into it. We got some really incredible artists using different programs, Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, and Blender, all with different perspectives and different techniques getting to the same incredible result. So I'm very, very excited to hop in with you guys. Now, before we begin, this is the last thing here. I got to throw it to our sponsor today, Micro Center. We'll be back in a second. Micro Center is the sponsor of today's live stream. If you're looking for an affordable workstation, computer parts, electronics, networking tools, laptops, monitors, you name it, then Micro Center has got you covered. Now, I know that PC part prices are still on the high end. So when you're looking for the best deals, Micro Center is running them all the time. Click the link in the description and see what you can find. And if you're an artist who needs an affordable workstation, Micro Center has knowledgeable staff over the phone and in store who can help you find the best rig for your personal budget. Now, personally, I prefer going in store for bigger purchases. I enjoy talking to the staff about my purchase and holding the item in my hands. And if you feel the same, then Micro Center has an in-store offer for new customers where they're giving you a free 128GB flash drive and a 128GB micro SD card. No purchase necessary, limited time offer, valid in store only, limit 1 per customer. So the next time you are in a pinch and need computer parts, accessories, and more, then go to Micro Center for the best deals. Click that link in the description and gear up for your very next project. Yo, Tyler, what's up, dude?
What's up, Clint? And everybody,
how are you doing? How are you doing? Heck yeah, dude. Congratulations, man. I think 4th place, yeah, 4th place in the Infinite Journeys Challenge. Very, very awesome. Let's see if I can't take care of this last frame here. We got a little last frame coming off here. That's Alex. Alex is next. This is Tyler time. Let's see here. Bam, bam, bam. Your art is incredible, dude. It is I love that style so much, man. What was like? I have a ton of questions for you. We're gonna take, for the audience here, we're gonna take about 30 minutes with each artist. So I want to do a little like 10 minutes just to get to know you and hop into the breakdown here, as well as take it to the audience too and ask a little bit of Q&A.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
let's do it.
So, dude, first off, I gotta ask, like, how did you get into 3D? What was like, do you do this for a job, or is this just like a side hobby, or what's the story here, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's both and everything. Yeah, like I run a small business. I'm out of South Dakota in the United States. And yeah, I mostly do informational motion graphics. So I'm connected with schools and businesses and doing like glorified PowerPoint kind of stuff, you know? And but yeah, like my school background is on 3D production animation, art for video games. And so I'm kind of just a little studio doing all the above, I guess.
Amazing. So, I mean, what got you into 3D in the first place?
Nintendo.
Yes,
I mean, dude. I've always been a fan of video games, and that's what got me to school. Like, there was this article in Nintendo Power magazine saying like, oh, you can go learn art at this school. And called the DigiPen Institute of Technology in Washington. And so I was like, oh man, that's the coolest thing in the world. And they had summer workshops for high schoolers. And so I went there and just kind of got my feet wet and learned that I love doing the art side of things. And it kind of went from there.
Dude, I think I'm very similar, man. Video games are such a huge inspiration for me. And I think a lot of the audience too, a lot of the people watching here, and 3D artists in general, it's like video games is probably like the number one thing. Because we're diving into these worlds and we want to create them ourselves. And what you created here is just absolutely incredible, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, inspiration-wise, what are some of your favorite video games that inspired this art here?
Oh man, I guess I wouldn't say that this one was inspired by video games so much. There was more art that I found like on ArtStation that inspired this one.
Yeah.
But just a general like anime kind of stuff, I guess, is pretty enthusiastic for me. And then I guess stuff like Avatar, you'll see some examples as I walk through it of some reference that I pulled from for this. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, video games, just mention anything from the good old late 90s and early 2000s, and that's my generation.
Absolutely, dude, absolutely. I definitely see some like Breath of the Wild along with some Avatar in this. Like those are two of my favorite things ever, so I think you're nailing it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll tie back into some of that stuff too as we go through the reference if we get time, because there's a lot of Legend of Zelda stuff that was inspiration for me on this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let me see here. I know I just switched over to my desktop. Let me work a couple things around here. I want to be able to see what you're showing me as well as the chat. All right, so Soto, I know you're in the background here. I'm gonna see if I can watch your stream so I can see Tyler's work here. Yes.
Yeah.
So Tyler, oh goodness. Alex, you're next, buddy. You're next. I know you're slipping in. I know you're eager. But we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you. Don't you worry, Alex. So yeah, what was your process with this piece of art here? How does like the people who are watching who are dabbling in 3D or who want to get into 3D, or maybe like just like myself who I do a different style. I'm more of like a photoreal kind of guy. How would I go about starting a scene like this? What was your process like?
Yeah, can you see my screen? I've got my making of video pulled up here.
Yeah, let's switch over.
Is that visible? All right,
good to go.
Perfect. Yeah, so I mean, for people who are getting started, the thing is just to do it. You know, like play around with stuff. Like you can learn things anywhere. I mean, YouTube is full of great examples of people who want to teach, and you know, just like diving into stuff, especially with things like Blender is just free. It has the capability of like the highest caliber 3D programs now. It's like just start making stuff, you know?
Absolutely. The information is out there. I think in the past, it was absolutely necessary to go to school to learn how to do this, especially because like the programs are very expensive. But nowadays, like you said, like Blender is a free program. You can hop in. There's a lot of free, and it's very accessible. 3D is very, very accessible now, and like more than ever, now more than ever. So
very much so.
I think that's good advice to just hop in and do it for sure. So where did you start? Where did you start on this thing? Like how did you begin creating this piece?
So the starting point was like going through different ideas, and like the starting point was completely different. Like my initial idea was like making a spaceship pilot, and it's going to be this old guy, and he's looking out his window and he sees this younger pilot doing like some maneuvers that bring him back to his glory days when he was an ace pilot. And I started playing around with that idea. I kind of pitched it to people around me, and they were just kind of like, okay, like there was no excitement in it. Okay. And so I mentioned it to my wife, and she's like, you always do stuff like that. Like you should do something colorful and like foreign. And I was like, okay, that's totally new. And so I started looking around to see some like color inspiration. And let's see, I'll drag this forward here. And so I found this painting on ArtStation, and it just kind of, the colors were kind of captivating. And especially since I just watched a video on YouTube where someone was pointing out how some of the best films use a very simple two color, scheme, for their films.
Yeah.
And so I thought this really played into that, with like everything in the background is yellow or orange, and everything in the foreground is, it does get dark, but it's purples, greens, cool colors.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's something that kind of could stand out, or it stood out to me as something just kind of fun that I could practice and play around with. And so, yeah, then I just kept looking up inspiration, like for movement. I can maybe play that. And so I found that shot of some guys just like running along holding some flares or something. And I thought maybe I could play something with that.
So you're starting with reference, and you're starting with certain artists, certain color palettes, and you're like you're essentially gathering those things together to be inspired and have that lead the direction of your piece of art here. Is that right?
Yes, very much so. And that's my personal style, especially because I'm more of a technical artist. I'm not an idea person at all. And so it's like, if you come to me at the beginning of the day and it's like, all right, dream something big, I'll just be sitting there with my hammer and, like my tools to build it. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't really have a vision for stuff. And so this kind of stuff like starts to get a vision, and seeing people do it before me and making more of a collage of it rather than just like an idea straight from my head. That makes it a little bit more grounded for me to believe in the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Very fair. I think as starting out as an artist, so I've always enjoyed drawing, and when I was learning, and I'll always be learning, but like when I first started out drawing, it was easiest for me to draw other people's art. And or like right now I'm learning how to play the piano, and it's easiest for me to like play other people's music. And I think with 3D artists too, when you first start out, it's fun to recreate other people's work. It's a great way to learn and grow when you're like first starting out. And then I think like once we can get to the point where we can start doing our own custom stuff, that's when it gets really, really nice, and you kind of break through that layer of, oh, I'm just copying other artists' work, to now I'm actually creating original art here. And I love that you are looking at references from other artists. You're not recreating those pieces, but you're using it as inspiration to create your own original piece. And that's absolutely wonderful. So once you have your reference, where do you go from there? How do you start sculpting the scene?
Yeah, so then it just comes to the drawing. And this is, basically what I've just told you, that's everything that was in my mind when I started this drawing here. And so it's very loose, like not much is thought out. I'll kind of speed it up a little bit here so we don't run out of time. But essentially, I took that and then tried to integrate those colors back in. And maybe those flares that those people are holding, maybe those are like magical fairies or creatures that are kind of flying around.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I sit down to actually think through everything. And so that's like, what is the girl actually wearing? What kind of like travel outfit do they have? What sort of equipment does he have? Like, what is this guy over here? Like in this drawing, he's kind of got this bicycle helmet thing. And that's all just like, what's the term? Like flowing design from my previous, like my previous sketch here was, I didn't think about what that shape was. It was just sort of an upside down basket on top of his head. Yeah. And so now I think it through, like, okay, well, what could that kind of be? And it's like, well, maybe some sort of foreign helmet hat kind of thing. Like, I don't know.
Totally looks like a mushroom helmet to me.
Yes. Yeah. Like a little bit of like Captain Toad, I guess.
Yeah. Like if Toad grew up and like, kind of just got like a new vibe, and grew the beard and like went on a long adventure. This is definitely the vibe here. So you put this together in Photoshop or what?
Yeah, this is just painting with my my tablet in Photoshop.
Goodness, that's incredible. I'm like, dude, I wish my concepts could come close to looking like this, dude. Mine are just chicken scratch.
You.
This is great.
Thank you. But you don't need a lot. It's like this this is more than I need. It's just a note taking, basically, is, you know, like, what do I want things to look like? Where do I want them to be? What do I want the symbols to look like? It's just answering all those questions and trying to come up with a good answer for everything.
Yeah, fair.
It's hard.
Because, like, even though my concepts look like butt in the beginning, it's okay, because at least I know where it's going. It's basically a way, the concept, in my experience, is a way for it to guide us through the project with some sort of clear direction.
Absolutely.
So you're figuring out all of like the design here, all the shapes of the clothing and whatnot, and you're trying to get it as close to final, I guess, ish as possible, or how much changes from here to the end?
Right. I actually don't have any standard for like what I'm doing here. This is just to keep me from making mistakes as I move forward. This way, it's like I work it out in my head. Like, I know that what I'm doing will make sense, you know, eventually. And I know it can come together onto the screen in this composition, so that I know it's at least a bar that I can hit eventually.
Yes.
And whether I can or not is always remains to be seen.
Well, you definitely did this time, dude, because I mean...
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So should we just kind of keep moving through it here?
Yeah, let's do it.
So here's some, so at this point I kind of decided to go with a stylized cartoon style, because I thought that worked really nice. You can see this Aladdin and Jasmine, like that color pattern matches very closely with what I was trying to go for.
Yeah.
And then some stuff from Avatar. I thought the like face style is cool, and not overly detailed. Like the shading on this is just like a line. And I did that because I thought that's all I could, honestly, that's all I thought I had the skill to accomplish within the time frame. I didn't want to try to do something like super detailed, super realistic with tons of layers and stuff.
So smart, man. I did the opposite, and I paid the price.
I mean, it's hard, but it's so fun getting into the details on like realistic stuff. Like, I don't blame you for that. That's fun too. And you lose a bit of that when you do stylized stuff, I think. But I don't know.
It's a very fresh vibe. Like, that's why I love your art so much. It's a very, very, very fresh feeling. And I think it's so needed when so many people are doing the same thing and copying the copies. When you see something like this come to life, it's so fresh. So okay, I'm just amped about the art. All right, so where are we at now? It looks like you doing a block out, or are you
this is where I start to put things in 3D and make sure that in 3D space my concept will work, because sometimes you can cheat perspective and stuff in ways that it actually falls apart when you make it in 3D. Downloaded some characters. These are pre-rigged Mixamo characters. Okay. And I did that so that I can keep all the skin weights, and I can adjust the model, but I can always like transfer those skinning weights back on. So things like the shoulders and like.
All right, when you say skin weights, I barely know what skin weights are, and I know there's probably people in the chat who don't know what skin weights are. What are skin weights?
Yeah, so that's so when you animate something, you have like basically this like rig underneath everything that's controlling everything. It's like a skeleton, and so you've got like your bones and stuff, and then the actual 3D mesh is made to deform along those same animation guidelines. And so when you're setting up your character, it looks like this, where you just have a T-pose or something where your character's just standing there. Mm-hmm. And then you have to define this basically like a puppeteering rig underneath it that tells it where to bend, how to bend, all the different like things it can do. And so then you have to go through and you have to tell it how to deform, like where those joints are, like what part of the forearm is linked to the forearm, bone in the skeleton. Mm-hmm. And you got to go through the whole thing, like head to toe, shoulders and stuff. And things like shoulders are especially hard because there's so much like precise deformation. You can't just like have it be a tube, kind of like the elbows. Like if it's a little bit of a bendy tube, you can kind of get away with it. But shoulders, you've got the neck that has to kind of stay in place. Like the chest has to kind of stay in place, but also kind of be affected by it. There's just so many different like dynamic parts that can go wrong, and it just like it throws me for a loop every time. So I try to like start with a finished thing that looks good and then modify it.
Got you. Okay. So last bit here on weight painting. Is that what you're talking about? Weight painting?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So I messed with that a little bit on the last 2 challenges I did.
Okay.
And basically, like, you would see a bunch of colors on the body, like right here in your screen. It's a gray, little clay material here, but when you're painting weights, you would see all the colors. So like the arm might be red, completely red, or maybe just the bicep is red, and then like the forearm is green and the hand is blue or something. And if you go to the bicep, which is red, and the shoulder is red, whatever the bicep does, the shoulder will also do, which is not correct, right?
Yeah, I wish I had a good example to show that, but yeah, like the entire like clavicle and neck can like rotate up and out along with while the arm's going down.
So like
there's so many things that can go wrong.
If your painting isn't right, you're gonna be seeing these weird like janky deformations. Like the left arm is gonna control the right hip, and it's like, oh crap, that doesn't work. That's a painstaking I honestly hate that process.
Oh man, me too. But that's why I just take shortcuts.
Absolutely. Okay, so from here you got your character. You have your block out, which is very important for getting the actual, seeing if the composition works well with maybe a little bit of light. From there, where are you at?
More concepting. This is just to solidify some things, making sure my concept works over the T-pose of the models, because that's how I actually built them, and then drawing out some background, like set dressing stuff, just making sure I've got some cool things. And these are actually kind of fun. All these leather props, they're based on like fruit and vegetables and like gourds and stuff. They're like, the designs are not original at all. Like they're just straight up stolen from vegetables and stuff. Like, I don't know, like this thing down here is it's just, I don't know, some kind of squash that I found that looked like that. So I was like, well, I'll make it leather and add some straps and that'll be my bag.
Wait, so you based these bags on actual fruits and vegetables?
Yeah, like this, like over here, this kind of football-y looking thing, that was some kind of weird like plant maybe or something like that. This guy's pretty obvious. It was some sort of globe fruit with like a big stem. And this was all to save time. So normally I would think things through a little bit more than that, but for this one, it's like we were so fast trying to get this done in a month. And plus, like, these background props weren't that interesting to me. So I was just like, I wanted to find a solution where I could get interesting shapes really fast. And so I just called it good and was like, here we go. And they turned out to be super cool.
Dude, that is insane. I would have never thought to base my baskets on fruit. I would have just Googled baskets and started doing low poly baskets. Like, that's why it feels like really fresh to me. Because you referenced fresh fruit. Nice, dude.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. Wow. Okay, so you're concepting your baskets. You're concepting the clothes. How do you? So you're using 3ds Max, is that right?
Yes.
And you're modeling all in 3ds Max?
Yeah. This was all 3ds Max. Well, maybe I did some ZBrush too, but like it was all effectively in Max. Yeah.
Okay, it looks really nice, dude. It's absolutely fantastic. So where are we at now? What are we looking at?
So I'm just kind of going to the frames where I was working in Max. But like, here's an example of how bad things look. Like, working on stylized stuff is scary because you're working with a model that looks like this, and it's just like, woof, that is terrifying. So then I had to like constantly go paint over it just enough to kind of be like, okay, like I'm not totally off my rock here. This will work.
And this is the first time you've done this style?
Yeah, it actually is.
Holy crap,
I don't think
dude.
there was so much that I had to. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because the fun stuff comes in the materials and rendering stuff.
Yeah, go for it. We have, I think like 10 more minutes here. We can get through the breakdown, and then we'll take it to audience Q&A.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this is like an example of like what the girl looked like before she had any outlines or like painted details on her. And so you can see like you've got this, there's only 2 colors to each material. So there's like a brighter pink and like a darker pink.
Yeah.
And so the way that I did that was actually, one of the things that I saw as I was watching tutorials on how to do like toon shaders and stuff is people would use an actual light source and it would just be like a harsh shadow, like just a line across the face or across the body. And it just doesn't look like a cartoon. It looks like fake 3D cartoon.
Yeah.
And it was just hard to deal with that. And I stumbled across this as a solution. This is actually controlled by ambient occlusion. And what that is it's a special map that tells the computer like where like gaps and like crevices and like corners of things are. And so I have an example here of something that kind of uses the principle. So this top left one is just your typical ambient occlusion. So it's like in the little gaps here, you've got black and it gets kind of shaded in the holes and stuff. And then outside it's white. So it gives it a very realistic, like universally lit look to it. And so what this little gradient here is it just goes from black to white. So shadows are black, light is white.
Yeah.
We can mess with that to get a little more stylization where we say, okay, everything is black up until right here, and then everything is white beyond that. And what we get is just like the very, very deep crevices get that black treatment, but everything else is lit or with white. And you can actually adjust where that transition zone happens to get different stylization. And so basically I did that with my model here, where I found that transition point that looked nice and basically picked a shadow color and a light color. And that's how I did the lighting for everything in my scene.
Dude.
Or that's how I did the material lighting.
It looks so good. That's so smart.
Thank you. And no like texture painting, no, like all that hard stuff that would have taken a lot of time. It's like you just get that automatically built in for this. And so, yeah, so then at that point, then I did go into Substance Painter to do like the detail texturing, all the little patterns and different material zones and stuff. So then we get to something like this where it's actually looking nice, but everything has that like a light color and a dark color, and the ambient occlusion, like how close it gets to corners and cracks and crevices, is what controls that brightness value. That's
beautiful. That's such a cool way to do it. Wow. So simple. It's so effective. Can you talk about the like the sunlight method that you used?
Yeah. Okay. So that's coming up here. Oh boy, this is like trauma here. This is like a depression zone where I was trying to figure out what was in the background. There's more cool stuff here. But yeah, so like for the rendering lighting, so you can see like it's got that ambient occlusion, like just for the corner shadows. But for the actual scene lighting, I did a render pass using Redshift in 3D Studio Max, where everything is just kind of that dark, like kind of purpley, cool color theme shadow.
It's like the ambient light. It's like the light from just the sky minus the sun. Yep. Essentially, you turn the sun off, basically, right?
Yeah. Yep. And so then I did a pass that's basically everything's lit by the sun. So like, what would that look like? So everything's bright, it's full, local color and stuff. And so then I did an actual like lighting pass where it's like I get a mask to say like these white zones are where I'm going to use that sun color, and then wherever it's black, it's going to use the shadow color. And so that gave me total control over those color zones. So if I because I knew in post when I'm putting this all together, there's going to be times where I want to bump up my lights a little bit brighter, or maybe darken the shadows, and I wanted to play with how blue I went with the environment. Like I kind of wanted to start with like super saturated and then tone it back to maybe make it realistic. And so I wanted to have control over all those different layers in Photoshop or After Effects, however I was compositing this. Mm-hmm. And so basically this let me do that. So here it's like, this is controlling that light pass, and then I blend in the shadow. Oof. And then it kind of gives it a nice rim lit effect. But I also have control over everything too. So if we go to the like light pass here, these like scroll cases and water bottle things, those could not get hit by light in order to work nicely the way that it's lighting his face and her face. Those lights just physically, it would be impossible to see these. And so I just threw a light down here, just totally cheated it. And I did that with a lot of places in here where it's like something wasn't getting hit, so I couldn't see it. Yeah. And so I just threw in a light, and I had total control without worrying about ruining other stuff in the scene. It's all isolated.
That's some good artistry, man. That's the stuff that is like the secret sauce where it's okay, it's not realistic, but it looks way better. And no, I think being able to do that, knowing that you can do that and that you should do that is huge, because I think lighting is such a huge part of making something look incredible when it comes to 3D art, and even movies too. Like you can really tell a poorly lit movie from, you know, an incredibly lit movie. And it's the same for 3D too.
Yeah, it's what makes the stars stand out from the everyday things.
So I want to get to some Q&A business here. So let me pull up the chat really quick here. Give me a shake. Let's see.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to see more of this stuff, it's all available on my YouTube channel, so you can find it.
So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and @pwnisher me here in the chat, and let's ask some questions while I pull up the chat here. If I can remember how to use YouTube. Here we go. We got 748 people in the chat today. Let's pop this chat on out. About time. What's up, chat? How are y'all doing? Who do we got in the house today? Zarek, yo, what is up? Master Wu asked, how long did it take to render? Tyler, how long was that?
Ooh, render times. I think that was about 20 hours total.
Dude, that's super doable. That's great. What's written on the notepad? What do you got on the notepad there?
Notepad. What? This one here?
On the right. Yeah. No.
On like the actual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of what I was talking about, that Legend of Zelda stuff. So, I'll try to make this fast. So I was looking at what to do for the background. Couldn't come up with any ideas. Went through like a week of depression, just like hating myself for not thinking of anything. I called a friend who works at Blizzard as a concept artist, and he talked me through some stuff as far as like look into mythology, like try to find ideas that already have captivated people and adapt some of those things. And so I looked up like Arabian mythology, and I found this idea of this rock, which, you know, if you've played Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, you know the rock's feather, and so that just connected to my childhood, and thought, yeah, that's awesome. Like I love the idea of this bird that's like as big as a mountain that can take away your elephants if you're not careful. And so I went with that. It came, it was an awesome idea, fit with the mood that I wanted for my piece. And then I realized like feathers, dynamic stuff, it's like way too much work. And so I simplified it into a turtle. And so kind of as a joke, just like to poke at myself for like, obviously that was a very lazy interpretation of this amazing mythology with so much like life behind it. And so I imagined this guy was a researcher or something. He's off in this foreign world. He's there to find this huge bird, the rock. And he sees this like turtle flying, and he's like, okay, so he writes like rock. The great bird looks more like a turtle to me. So he's kind of confused, and I imagine he was kind of angry at me as an artist for ruining his expectations.
I love that Easter egg, dude. That's incredible. So, yeah,
something you'd never see it, but it's just for me to laugh at myself, I guess.
So your background here, this is just a personal question. How did you do the clouds? Actually, that was a question from the chat. I saw that in the chat. How you doing your clouds?
Clouds are easier than you'd think. I just straight up painted them in Photoshop and then brought them as layers into After Effects and put like a turbulent displace on them.
Dude.
And you can basically make that boiling effect on the layers.
So your background is 100% minus the manta rays and the turtle, and
yes,
it's 100% 2D. Even the
Yeah.
scrolling rocks in like the mid ground, those are 2D wipes.
Yep, all those are just 2D, like blurred drawings.
Dang, dude, I cannot believe your freaking workflow on this is. I'm so like jealous is the wrong word. It's inspiring.
Oh man, thank
it's inspiring,
you.
dude. It's like
That just means so much coming from someone like you.
oh man, dude, you crushed it. Like you just knocked it out of the park, and every step of the way it seemed like was the most efficient way to do it. The maximum amount of output with the minimum amount of input.
Oh, thank you. I had to. I mean, there's no way I could get something like this done that I thought did justice to. I mean, when you look at some of these cartoon references, I mean, I'm looking at Disney and whoever makes Avatar, I don't know, but it's like those are amazing, just like top of the line shows. Like they're stylized, but they're stylized so well. And I just didn't want to like embarrass myself, you know, like comparing to that kind of stuff. And with the other competitors, like everyone here, oh man, there's just so much talent in this competition. Like I was doing my best because I was very overwhelmed.
Yeah. You killed it, man. You killed it. Where can people find your art? Where's the best place for people to like check you out? We got your YouTube channel pinned in the live chat right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ronan. Appreciate that. But where else?
Yeah, thank you. Right now, I don't have much of a social media presence. I'm looking to develop some of that, but honestly, like YouTube is my place where I post anything that I think I'm kind of proud of.
Cool.
But right now, I've got like this Metroid fan animation thing on there that was kind of fun. But this summer and like over the next few years, I'm looking to do more like kind of video game themed animation stuff and start a little bit more of that journey. So,
dude,
I apologize. Yeah, I don't have much to like track me on things other than my like professional work, which isn't interesting to just check out.
Oh no, it's cool, dude. YouTube is easy, just a one and done. Just go to his YouTube.
Yeah.
It's pinned in the chat right now. The link doesn't work. Link doesn't work. What is your YouTube channel? What's the name of your YouTube channel?
I think it's just Tyler Gibbons Art.
Okay, Tyler Gibbons Art. Ronan, maybe if you wanna try and grab a fresh link or something, we can pin it up. Tyler Gibbons Art, and I'll put all this stuff, by the way, guys, in the description of this video. Once we get through all of the artists today, I'll update it and whatnot. But yeah, check out Tyler Gibbons Art. Let's see, visual, you got one. Let's see if this works. Let's pin it. All right, pinned in the chat. Thanks, visual. Appreciate you, man. Sodamonte. Now I know y'all can't hear Sodamonte, but he's whispering the good word in my ear. How are we doing on time? Are we ready? Is Alex ready, or do you want to do a couple more questions? Soto, how you doing? All right, sweet. All right, it looks like we're ready to go for the next one. My goodness, Tyler, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. Please keep doing this style. I love it. People love it. People want to see a movie like this. People want to see more like this.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you, brother. And
man,
we'll definitely be in touch, man. Go check out Tyler's YouTube channel. It's pinned up in the chat. Looks like the link's working now. And give him some love, guys. Tyler, thank you so much, man. I will see you very soon, and keep up the good stuff, yeah?
Awesome. Thank you, Clint, and thank you, everybody.
Yeah, peace out. Who? What? Oh, Alex?
Whoa, I'm here?
Yeah, Alex, you're here.
Am I live?
You're live.
Oh my gosh.
You're live.
How's it going?
It's great. We got through an amazing piece with Tyler, and I'm excited to break down.
That was incredible. Tyler's stuff is inspiring. His technical abilities are, man, yeah, his workflow for that's incredible. Inspiring is the right word.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. So, first off, thank you for being available for this. I really appreciate you, man. Congratulations on your third place win with this piece here. I know this was Ian Hubert's favorite piece. He absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I mean, we all love the piece. I love the fact that goodness. Now my phone is going. Hold on, my phone. Sorry, my dang phone is popping off. I got it.
Sorry, it cut out a little bit. Oh no.
All right, can you hear me at all or no? Ah, the pains, y'all. The pains. All right, stream. Give me a second.
Oh, okay.
Let me hang up and switch back out.
Yeah, there's a
Can you
delay
hear me?
though, right?
You hear me, Alex? Hello, my man. Soto, you hear me, yeah? All right, Alex, you should be able to hear me then.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, brother. Sweet.
Okay, is it working again?
Yeah. Hold on, let me cue it back up, guys. There's like 10 things going on. I got like freaking 3 screens and like juggling. Let me get the chat back up. Hold on. One second.
I'm like, which thing do I mute? Which
No, you're good. You're good. It's
Okay,
just sometimes
okay.
my phone, when it disconnects from my phone and it reconnects, it loses me on Discord. Anyway,
got it.
so what I love about your piece of art here is the fact that this whole thing works. Like, dude, you built this out so that literally everything is perfect. Everything works. The pedals crank this gear shaft that scrolls the tarp in the background. And like when he goes into hyperspeed, the strings go up and like pull the cardboard tube, which is duct taped. And like, this is absolutely incredible, the foresight on this. Now, before we get into the art, I know because I got a lot of questions on the art, let me just get a little background on yourself. So do you do 3D full time or is it just a hobby?
Yes, I do it full time. So I'm freelance. I'm from Chicago. A lot of the work that I do is at Stern Pinball, actually. I do, like, there's LCD screens on pinball machines now, so I'm making, like, just whatever visuals are needed for whatever game we're working on, which is just a crazy variety of random art, which for me is great because I get, like, just, like, it can be anything coming my way in terms of art, which gives me a really broad, like, sometimes I have rigging tasks, modeling tasks, animation tasks, so I kind of learn a little bit of everything.
That's great. So you're very well-rounded. The job that you have kind of challenges you in multiple ways that keeps your skill level up, not just on one specific task, but kind of a wide variety of 3D in general. Is that correct?
Yeah, more or less. And then I'm pretty flexible. Like, I have a lot of free time to do like challenges and stuff like this, and I love doing character art. That's like always been my, like, the direction of my passion in 3D art. So like my free time is consumed with a lot of like character art specific work. So that's like a lot of where my specialty is, I would say.
Okay, got you, man. Got you. For me, it's the exact opposite. I am horrible at characters, and it is the hardest part for me. And I think for a lot of the people in the Infinite Journeys challenge who participated, I think we all really struggle with the character side of things. It is very difficult. There's a lot to deal with. A whole lot of just technical maneuvering in order to get something that looks good, and then you have to animate it, man. Like, is this hand animated?
Yeah, it's hand animated.
Wow.
And I mean, I kind of I didn't even really plan it this way, but it ended up being relatively easy in terms of character animation goes, just because the way the pedals work is like, I just rotated the pedals and I'm like, huh, his legs are animated already. Sweet.
So that's IK, right?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, his feet are literally just tied to the pedals, and I had to like rotate the pedals to kind of like mimic his feet's movement, so it's like pedal directed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it ends up like looking fine. I thought I had to do a lot more shifting with the legs to like get it being really realistic, and to be honest, I probably do if I want to be thorough. But like just having the whole pedal system rotating, it's like, it works. Looks good.
So you created this in Blender, is that correct?
Yep.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. When did you first open Blender? When were you like, I think Blender could be pretty fun. Let's try this out. When was that for you?
It was whenever Blender 2.8 came out. They had a huge update where they kind of redid their UI and stuff. I was like 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know. Time is hard to keep track of nowadays, but something like that. Two years-ish.
And was that the first time you got into 3D? It was 2 years ago with
No.
Blender 2.8?
No, I've been I graduated from a VFX school in 2012, so I've been doing like 10 years or so of VFX, and I was a Maya user for a really long time.
Yeah, that's like the industry standard, right? Is Maya.
Yeah, but like Maya for me, and maybe it's just because I learned, like I was like just kind of not the best artist for a while using Maya, so like I didn't learn a lot of, like there's some stuff that I just avoided, and for so long Maya was like a confusing program for me. And then I came into Blender with like so much more 3D knowledge to where I could just learn the things that I needed to know really quickly. And Blender itself is set up to be relatively easy to use in my experience. So it was like really easy to just develop a workflow for Blender, and I just kind of naturally transitioned to it. I think they both have their strengths for sure. And I still model in Maya just because I have so much muscle memory with modeling. Like I can't model anything in Blender. It takes too long.
Yeah, modeling is. I have trouble myself in cinema. I feel like I'm just crawling on the floor, scrounging my way through, and like just barely passing, you know. And it's a frustrating feeling because it sucks to feel like you're chained to a wall and you're trying to move forward, but like you're just you know you can't.
It's one of those things that just takes like hours of just pure work. Like it's like almost like an instrument. You just need the muscle memory to like every tool that you want to be able to access it right away as soon as you think of it. And like I have that with Maya, I don't have that with Blender, and I don't want to develop that with Blender, so I just model in Maya and then bring it into Blender now.
That's great. That's very smart, man. It's like you do, and I think that's a good takeaway for people in the chat is like, you know, it's you don't have to just use one program. You use what works for you, and for some people that's to model in another program, bring it into another program, and whatever like your workflow is. So speaking of workflow, can you show me or break down or talk about your process with this? What's the first thing you do when you're like, okay, there's a 3D challenge? What's next?
I spend like 4 or 5 days, I would say, just on the idea itself and like making sure like my brain likes it enough to like I know I'm spending a month on this thing, and if I'm not like wholeheartedly into it, I'm just gonna like get tired by a week and a half and then like slowly crawl towards some kind of result. So
yeah,
I definitely take time just like letting things simmer, not even working, not even necessarily like concepting, just like what's an idea, and then sleep on it, and like, do I still like it? No. Okay, next one.
Or are you just sitting there like this, just like thinking hard, or are you writing, typing? Like, what do you do?
Honestly, I will just like think about it and just like, I mean, I'll definitely like, yeah, just sit there on the couch and like stare towards the wall. Like, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not even that far from the truth. Like, I'll just think about it. Like while I'm like absorbing other media, watching TV or whatever, and or just whatever pops into my head when I learn about the prompt.
Yeah.
And then just like, I mean, I can think about an idea and like whether or not I can put that into motion, and then just like I'll just play thinking about it over the course of the day, like how I would go about each step, and just like think about if it works, if I still like it. So yeah, basically it's just like an idea formation process. But
I think what you said a couple minutes ago is really important. You wanted to pick an idea that you could live with for a month, not just a week. And because if you get tired of it, like you said, you're just going to hate the process, and you may not even finish the art. And if you do, it's going to be, you know, potentially uninspired and just kind of whatever.
Because I think it's important to think beyond the contest too. Like, this is a piece that's going to be on your portfolio, and it's like, I don't know, you want it to represent you in some way, and just like not just get it done for the contest. So it's like, yeah, it's a month long and there's a deadline related to the contest, but you want to make sure you can finish the piece, and by the end it's not like, oh well, it's just gotta fit these guidelines. And like, I don't know, to me it's like I use the contest as a framework for creating a portfolio piece. That is kind of like my mental way of framing it, I guess. That kind of helps me organize things.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. that definitely makes sense. Sorry, y'all. I'm doing two things at once here. Let me get this back up and going. So how long does it take to concept this, and then what do you do from there?
So once I like the idea, man, we just watched Tyler's concepts, so maybe mine will be a refreshing. Hold on, where did I have that? Change of pace.
And let us know if you want us to share. Let's switch over and share your screen. Yeah.
All right. Hopefully my beautiful concept is on screen.
Yeah. Thank you, Soto. It's looking good. Sweet. Yeah, we got you.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, I definitely do not fancy myself a 2D artist, but like, I mean, you actually talked about this in talking with Tyler. Like, your concepts are just like to get the idea on paper, and like that's it, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks. Like, so I just had like my ideas. I had like this kid that I knew I wanted to be, like I wanted to be kids' imagination. That was kind of the idea that I ended up landing on, that I liked and I could stick with.
Yeah.
And then I knew I wanted that like scrolling background thing as part of his little invention. And you could see I have like the bike pedal system already kind of like, that was the main idea, is that this kid had built this bike pedal thing controlling the scrolling background. And then I thought maybe he had like a teddy bear or whatever. Like, it was very Calvin and Hobbes inspired. Yeah. It's like a mixture. Like, my two main things I kept thinking about are Calvin and Hobbes, and then Up, Carl Fredricksen as a kid. Yeah. Like the like Spirit of Adventure whole vibe. Yeah. So yeah, from there, like I just tried to channel that energy and then just jot the idea down, because I do think concepting is, no matter how bad you are at concepting or think you are bad at it, like it's so important to just have like a solid, like, this is the idea. Doesn't matter if it looks good. It's just like, it's a thing that you can like remind yourself later if you get a little bit lost. Like, this is the important stuff.
Okay, y'all, so, you heard it. That's 2 for 2 now. All right. Concepting. Just do a sketch. It doesn't have to look good, but it guides your direction through the end of the project. I started doing that a little too late. I think I started doing that maybe like Parallel Dimensions, the first 3D challenge. That was the first time I ever concepted anything before I created. And it made the biggest difference. It was insane. So it's good to know that like I'm kind of on track.
Yeah. And like, even if it's not concept, I mean, I definitely recommend it, but if you don't have a concept, you should at least have like a huge like mood board or reference board, just like stuff that inspires your idea or is really close to your idea that you found from other media. Like all that stuff helps just to like ground, like it's again, like just to help from getting lost during the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So you put this together just in what? I don't know, Photoshop, I assume, right?
Yeah. Just a quick thing in Photoshop. And then, just like literally wrote down things that were like, I considered staples of the idea. Like, the boy's gonna be nerdy. I don't know if that even came across, but clearly. And then I wanted to have a really cool teddy bear. And the fact that the teddy bear was cool was important to me. And that he would definitely have sunglasses on. And then the pedal-driven system. And then, like, that's all it is. I don't even have the background in because I knew what it was going to be. Yeah. Like, I knew it was going to be the scrolling thing. So I don't need to draw that because I know what it's going to be. So, like, from there, I definitely just wanted to jump right into production once, like, my idea was down.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I love the fact that you're like, the dude is nerdy, and you said you don't know what that is, and like I really was like thinking about it, and yeah, I think it's the skinny neck. I think it's the toothpick neck. For me personally, I don't know, but maybe the chicken legs too. Who knows? But
yeah, I didn't make those connections, but maybe that was like the subconscious. Like, what is nerdy? How do I even?
Because like if he had if it was just head to what are these muscles, the like WWE muscles? I don't even know.
Oh, like some traps.
If it was if he was just like a turtle man, like it'd be a different vibe for sure.
Oh yeah, it would.
Okay, so you got, all right, jokes aside, you got your sketch. Where you go from here?
Then I just honestly start jumping in, like. Because at this point, it's like, I know there's so many things I have to get done. It's like, I guess the best, like, so there's so many assets that need to be made. and there's some that I'm not sure about, and there's some that absolutely have to be made. So I know I need a kid. Like this character model's got to get done. So I just immediately started modeling the character. And again, like I said, like character art is my jam. So that's the first thing I was drawn to anyway. I knew I was gonna make this character. So it's like this thing's got to get done. Yeah, a bunch of other stuff has to get done. But I just knew this one had to get done. So I started with the character. I have a little. I have that thing anyway.
This is your final scene we're looking at, basically, right?
Oh yeah, this is my final Blender scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I modeled him in ZBrush, and let's see, I have like the actual little breakdown video. I think is this it? Yeah. Here's me modeling in ZBrush.
Sweet.
And you, as you can see, the face turned out all right, but it goes through some really rough iterations as it goes. So if that's encouraging to people who are like, oh man, experienced character artists are so good, it's like you still go through the growing pains of figuring out how a face is supposed to look. And also, like, I didn't ever work in like the Pixar style, which is part of why I wanted to do this kind of thing. Like my last character art was like this creepy witch gal, the Grassetti contest.
Okay, so this is a new style for you as well.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, what the heck? That's insane, dude. That's crazy.
I'll briefly show my other. This is what I just finished. This project.
Wow, that's nice.
It's like totally. I was like, I need to not do creepy stuff for a bit.
That's like some Elden Ring level. That's amazing.
Yeah. Dark Souls is definitely inspiration. But yeah, I wanted to get away from that. So I wanted to do Pixar style. I did cartoony stuff when I was like kind of learning 3D, but none of it looked good. So I really wanted to get like close this time and like try to really nail it as best as I could with my abilities. So yeah, I wasn't too worried about environment stuff. Like the workflow, I feel like for that is more or less the same as like photoreal stuff. Like Pixar environments are honestly basically photoreal environments. It's just the characters are so stylized.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
The character was the one I wanted to really get right.
So how did you do the clothes and everything?
That's all sculpted. I didn't worry about cloth sims. I did like some blend shape stuff for the wrinkles, like as he turns, but that's honestly unnecessary. Like it's all sculpted. I made him like lanky enough, and his clothes are like tight fitting enough to where I didn't have to worry about simulations being weird looking. Like if they just follow his arms, it doesn't really draw attention that they're not simulated. So that was kind of intentional.
Okay, all right. So you just said screw it for the simulations, and you just made it part of his movement. I think that's very smart. That's using your time very wisely.
Yeah, that was totally what it was, is a time constraint thing. Even for the back, this thing, well, especially I would say for the screen, I did not do simulations at all for this. It is entirely like blend shape driven, so that I can control like when the wrinkles happen and when they trigger, how strong the wrinkles are going to be, when it pulls on, like I have control over all that. Whereas with like simulation, I don't know if the simulation is going to work out properly. Like, how do I get, like, when it works, I have to cache it and then I can't touch it. And like, I didn't want to have to fuss with all that. I wanted to make sure everything got done on time is basically the main thing.
Okay. So let me ask this. You basically, so you had two options. You could simulate the background. We're talking about specifically the background now. You could simulate that background and bake it in, but then it's like kind of finicky and it may not work if you change the vibe on the foreground character and his speed and everything, and you have to resim it, and it'd probably take a little bit too much time in the end. So you chose to essentially just do it. What's the best like terminology for this? Like, it wasn't a simulation, so it was a blank.
I guess you could call it blend shape based, I guess. Like,
and what is a blend shape? Explain what a blend shape is.
So a blend shape is like you have a mesh, and on its own it looks a certain way, however you've modeled it, however you made it. So in this case, like I'm turning off all the blend shapes here. This is the blanket. It's literally a flat plane with, there's like a Blender lets you randomly select faces, and I just deleted random faces.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then so I have like ways of, you can create a blend shape. In Maya they're called blend shapes. In Blender they're actually called shape keys. They're commonly known as blend shapes, but anyway. So I created a blend shape, and you can sculpt on it. You can whatever you want to do to the mesh after that point. You can create a version of the mesh that is basically you're telling vertices that you modified that they look this way now, and you can flip between like your original version and then the blend shape active. That felt like a pretty terrible way to explain it, but
yeah. Okay, so it's basically like you're keyframing like on and off and everything in between, essentially on a slider of like, in this case, the like cloth deformations.
Right. Exactly. And you can use this for like facial rigging is pretty common. Like a character's face, you'll do blend shape for like a smile expression, so you can turn a smile on and off by going from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
But in this case, I just made like layers and layers of blanket wrinkles. Like some of them are just like isolated to one area. Some of them are like wrinkles over the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just like linked these to like a noise modifier so that they would just turn on and off randomly. Or in some cases, I would hand trigger them if it was like important how they worked.
Okay,
like,
so that's to, like for flapping. It's like to get like a flapping kind of a look with the noise.
Yeah, like the bottom one was, and then this one is the blend shape that I use to control like drag. When you see the hyperspeed go, and when he goes into hyperspeed mode, you can see the blanket kind of drags a bit. Like just doing something simple like this will like create that effect. And then because all this eventually is like wrapped around the there's a curve in here that guides the whole thing. So it's like all bound to this curve modifier. So all that's happening while it's spinning around the curve. So that's like it's pretty quick to make once you're familiar with blend shapes. Like it's just sculpting in these wrinkles. And then once you have that, you have like complete control of how it's going to wrinkle, when it's going to wrinkle, which is like just a relief because you don't have to worry about your simulations working properly. Not to mention like simulating itself takes forever. It's one of the things I'm not an expert on at all, which is probably another part of why I didn't use it. So
I like
stuck
that, man.
with my guns and what I know.
I like that. Yeah, it's very nice and very simple and well, it's easily controlled. So
yep. And that was the thing, like I definitely considered this project or this challenge like a project management challenge. Like Tyler was talking so much about how it was like the workflow was important, getting everything like you wanted to make sure he had everything on track. And that was me too. I'm like, there's so much to do when you have a character, a foreground and a background, and like you can literally do like anything. There's like, I mean, that's part of the idea why I had this like scrolling background thing is it was relatively simple to, I mean, I wanted to make sure it looked good, but it was not an exhausting background to make. And I could focus on the foreground elements that I really wanted to make look right. I mean, I knew just making the assets was going to take forever too. So I wanted to make sure I could get this thing done. So
talking about making the assets, how did you create this cardboard look with the marker? Did you actually like, there's no way you actually like use the Sharpie. You're just in Photoshop with like with a certain brush that looks like that, right?
Yeah, it's Substance Painter. And yeah, it's just like a black brush. It's like 50% opacity. So it has like it looks like it's like, you know, bleeding a bit. And yeah, the cardboard was like, I had kind of a workflow for making that because I wanted to make sure it actually had like the corrugation on the inside. But I was, Substance Painter. I had the UV cardboard and I literally just drew on it like a kid.
That sounds like the best, dude. Like this takes me back to the cardboard warfare days where I was literally drawing on cardboard, Sharpieing out like like an airplane cockpit kind of a thing.
And cardboard is the greatest material. Dude. I mean, man, there's so many things as a kid. Like this whole project brought me back to like when it was the only material available to make any kind of craft for me. Like making like robot costumes and stuff. That was good times. Yeah,
and this totally captures that. Dude, your details with like the recycle sign and like the umbrella thing and I'm so paranoid about like making everything from scratch. So I probably could have just grabbed a recycle sign from online, but I like went into Photoshop and like vector curved out a vector. Like, geez, dude. Okay, man, that's definitely one of those moments where I'm like, why am I doing this? But I did it. Whatever. Is there any like last little pieces you want to touch on that you think are good takeaways for the audience before we hop into Q&A?
I don't know. I guess like this is kind of something that is, I always think good advice for every bit of art is like always zoom out and look at the big picture. I mean, I translate this most to sculpting, and it's probably one of the lessons that I always have to teach myself whenever I'm sculpting something is like, if something isn't looking the way you want it to, it's usually not the thing that you're doing at that moment. It's like if I'm sculpting wrinkles on a character and I'm like, oh, this character's not looking how I want. It's usually because like the skull shape is wrong or something like more major is wrong. So my general advice is always like, think about the big picture of something and then work more towards the smaller details. And you can apply it to like project management too. It's like, that's why like concepting and stuff is so important, because it focuses on the big picture and like you can take track of the important things and get those right. And then work on the small details that honestly don't matter very much later.
Yeah.
That's my general advice, I guess.
That's some solid advice. I remember when Beeple came in when I was at Corridor and we did a render challenge together. I think we had 2 hours. Yeah, we had 2 hours to create something. And, you know, I think he's mentioned this a few times. But he talks about the idea of getting to a version that you could post. Like, just get as quickly as you can, get to something that is fine. That's just doable. It's not inspired. It's not amazing. It's not detailed. But if it came down to it and you had to post it, you could post it. Versus like going super detailed on some like head or something, and it's like, this is nothing. So once you have the you know, I call it like the big brush strokes, or even like a sketch, you know, like your concept, basically. You have kind of the whole vibe there. Then you can start going in for details. And I get real obsessed with the details. And I have a lot of fun.
It's so easy to do.
Yeah. Especially I have a lot of fun.
It's usually the fun stuff to do. So you want to get to it and like convince yourself that you're in the right spot to start doing details, when in reality, a lot of the time you're not. And it's like, that's always something that I have to like check in with myself, because I think like everybody has that habit. I think it's like so common. You want to get to like that good stuff. You want to make the wood details, but it's like your thing already doesn't look like wood. Why are you putting wood details on it?
Yeah.
Like no matter how experienced you are, I feel like you run into that. And it's like a thing you have to learn to watch out for.
Absolutely. Y'all get your Q&A questions in here for Alex. We have a handful of minutes here, so I want to get your guys' questions in before Alex leaves us. I struggle with just wanting to focus on the details, and I think I waste a lot of time on the details. That's one of my takeaways from my Infinite Journeys submission. I'm currently writing a breakdown on it right now, and that'll come out in 2 weeks from now. And it's interesting because the video's turning into like, here's how I failed and like how I'm going to prevent that in the future.
That's important. That's, I mean, arguably more important than a video of like, here's how everything got done perfectly.
Yeah, there's a lot of those on YouTube for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as long as you're just being honest, and if I'm being honest with myself, like I didn't think mine turned out too great and I wasn't too happy with it. So I want to get into that, and I want to talk about that. So I think that'll be cool. That's 2 weeks from now. But anyway, this is about you. Let's see what questions we got. Neko asks, how'd you do the hair? This person, they say they're not good with simulations. Yeah, how'd you do the hair?
The hair is Blender's hair system, which it uses like a particle system. You can kind of paint on like sections where it makes little guide particles. Well, anyway, there's guidelines, or there's tutorials for that. But sure. The main like theory with hair that is kind of common with a lot of ways to do it is I started like, let's see, are we in the hair section? Like I start with the lower hairs that are like really fine and small, just to like get the base, and then I do the hairs on top last. And I always felt like that's a way to not get exhausted. Like do them in little chunks instead of making like a whole like head of hair and then trying to like style it and cut it. Like make one chunk at a time, get one chunk looking good, and then move on to the next chunk. That's my like theory towards hair making. Like the technical stuff, there's a lot of ways.
That's terrifying. Oh my God. Jeez, dude. Set that as your profile picture. Goodness.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fun I could have with this. He can make some really goofy facial expressions because I could not rig him properly. I had to like kludge together some like blend shapes to like, oh, I hope the smile looks good. Like it's too much.
That's amazing. We're getting through these Q&As here. Can you touch on the pedal rig briefly?
Oh yeah.
Because the pedal rig, it like controls, it goes down. Like it's pretty complicated. It's really cool how you set that up.
Yeah, let's see. So it's driven a lot by what are called drivers in Blender and set-driven keys in Maya, where you just have one, like for instance, rotational value controls a bunch of rotational values.
Okay.
Which yeah, they're called drivers. And like for this rig, I just have whenever this rotates, like this whole pedal system here. Why am I still in the renderer? It'll be much faster if I do this. This controls like all this other stuff. And it's literally just like, I know this thing rotates, and then I can make this bike chain move by like, I forgot even how I got that to work, but you can use drivers to link those two things.
Okay.
So whenever this rotates, the bike chain thing rotates. And then I do the same thing with this gear thing. Whenever the bike pedal rotates, this gear rotates. But basically just you can use drivers to get that effect. And it's just like a series of drivers. It's way easier than it seems, honestly.
And that's what you would just, look up on YouTube and find the tutorials for drivers essentially in Blender.
Yeah, I don't want to like, here's how you click this button, here's driver. But yeah, if you look up drivers, you'll find the methods to create that. It's like, this is a pretty simple usage of drivers, I would say.
That's awesome. Really, it's very effective and very simple, it seems.
Like I did have to hand animate like the bike chain moving. I've got like these things that like control the up and down of the bike chain. Same with like when the hyperspeed moves, I have these controllers for that. But like the big pieces moving is mostly driven by drivers.
Sweet. Okay.
It works that way too.
Final question here. Do you have any tips and tools for tips or tools? I like tools. Okay, that's cool. For time management and project planning.
I can't say I have any tools for that. I would like, that's really back where concepting comes in. And like, I've been doing 3D for like 10 years, so I know roughly like how long a model is probably going to take, how many assets I'm going to be making in a scene. So maybe I could just say like, keep track of how many assets you're going to probably want in your scene. Like if you're going to want a busy scene, you're probably going to have a bunch of little doodads, like kind of keep a mental track of how many those are going to be. And like account, like, yeah, maybe it might be as simple as a pencil, but if you have 1,000 pencils in your scene, it's probably going to take a while. So like keep track of your assets, what you're going to need to make for the scene, roughly keep track of how long that might take you, like to whatever your modeling ability is, and then you can get a rough idea of how long it's going to take. But it is really like coming down to like knowing as much as you can, as early as you can, what you're going to need for your scene and how long it's probably going to take you, and just ask yourself like, is this even possible? Okay,
yeah, I need to take that advice. Desperately need to take that advice, because I bite off more than I can chew, and it screws me. It has screwed me time and time again. So I think what I'm gonna try and do, and I talk about this in my breakdown that's coming out soon here, but basically I overestimated the amount of days I actually had, and underestimated the amount of work that was needed to be done. And I need to do the opposite. I essentially need to like be realistic with the amount of days I actually have to work. 1 month is not 30 days for me, it's 20. Because I like to have a weekend.
Yep.
And then, but those days are also not full days; they're half days. Because I have, I'm running the YouTube channel, doing the Discord, doing weekly challenges and stuff. It's not just art every day. So it's
Mm.
like, okay, that's really like 10 days. And then knowing that I have 10 days, let me see if I can create something in 5 days. Let me aim for a 5-day idea. And then I can take those extra 5 days. If it really turns into a 5-day idea and I complete it in 5 days, take those extra 5 days to like max out and add the spice. And I think I'm gonna try that on the next challenge and even future projects. So I'm experimenting with that, and I really do need the time management advice. So I appreciate your take on that.
And it's also like modeling, like plan your tasks towards your camera too. It's important to come back to where your camera is and like, is the stuff I'm working on even going to be seen, and to what extent? You can use it as a guide to like, what's the most important thing.
Yep, you're speaking the glorious words.
My cardboard stuff has like stuff written down here, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. It says like first mate's chair for the like bear's little seat.
Yeah.
You can't even see it in the camera. And I'm like, all right, thankfully it didn't take long, but it's like, you don't have to do that stuff if you're not going to see it. So
yeah,
it's important to always look back to your camera and be like, what actually matters?
Yeah, that's another one that I learned this time around too.
Everyone has to learn that stuff, and you always learn it best through making the mistake. No one can tell you to do that stuff and like, oh, okay, now I'm never gonna make that mistake. No, you're always gonna like, again, I made that mistake this project, and I knew that happens, so it's just gonna happen.
Absolutely. Alex, I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for doing this. Congratulations again on 3rd place. And where can people find you before you leave here?
I'm also not very active on social media. I have an Instagram at Borre, BORRBORRE.
All right.
And then I'm on ArtStation, just under my name. But I'm not super active on. I mean, I try to post whenever I make something cool on Instagram and ArtStation. But that's about it. Pretty simple. But thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And thank you for choosing me. I'm honored.
Dude,
and I'm happy to be here and discuss my workflow. It's been great.
Yeah, man. Keep it up. I can't wait to see more from you. And we'll be in touch, man. We'll talk soon, yeah?
Sweet. Sounds good.
All right. Peace out, Alex.
Peace out.
What? Who's
hey.
Who's this?
It's Euan.
What's
Hello.
up, Euan? How you doing, man?
Thanks, man. I can't believe I'm here. This is like imposter syndrome. What am I doing here?
Dude, your art is so nice, man. I love everything about the color, the characters. Dude, you crushed it. Congrats on 2nd place, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
How you doing today? What's going on?
It's the evening here in Scotland, so just chilling. Just watching your stream so far. It's been good.
Sweet.
Learning a lot about 3D.
Yeah, hopefully. That's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. So you're in Scotland. What time is it right now in Scotland?
It's 8:20, so early evening.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. I was a bit afraid this stream would be like at 4 a.m. I'd just be completely dead.
Dude, that happened with William Fauché. Like, we got started at like midnight his time, and then it was a 5-hour stream, and like,
oh no,
yeah, that
just
dude,
fake energy throughout.
Yeah, that dude's a champ for sure. Yeah, this is about you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on here, and I think your work is incredible. I'm excited to dig into it. But first, just a little bit of background about yourself. Like, how long have you been working in 3D? We'll start there.
Well, I started at university at Robert Gordon's. I did computing for graphics and animation. I did a whole 2 modules on 3D where we did a crash course on architectural modeling and then a quick course on character stuff. But I actually really learned everything working at my company. They took me on in a placement. This was about 2014, and the placement was for Survitec Viscom. It's a health and safety company.
Okay.
And I did a mixture of filming with them and doing the 3D. For the filming, they just chucked me into a helicopter and put a camera on my face and told me just to reenact various scenes of putting on a seatbelt, bracing for a crash. And,
So you're an actor then for this health company.
Oh, I'm not an actor. What was so weird about it was I've probably been in every single like helicopter in the UK. I've never been in the air. It was all movie magic. We
It was on the
we
ground.
whited out the windows and just pretended, and then cut to studio of me inflating a life jacket. And then they had some other guy who actually was trained for the water stuff going under and how to use the life jacket and the rebreather stuff.
Okay.
So while I wasn't doing that, I was doing a crash course literally on Grayscale Gorilla, trying to cram in as much as possible about 3D. And
that's right.
they just
Okay.
basically got me to where I am.
Yeah, no, same. All right, so yeah, you created this in Cinema 4D.
Yeah.
Grayscale Gorilla is how I learned C4D. And they're the best, man. They have it all, and their tutorials are just super.
So good.
Dude, and they're nice guys too. That's the best thing.
It's like all our stuff was physical based renderer, and I've been doing that since 2014. And
Wait, hold on.
January,
Say that again. Say that one more time.
Physical based renderer, CPU based renderer, the slowest renderer known to man.
Yes. Okay. So that's what you've
Hours
been
for
working
GI.
on. Like
That's what I've been working on until January, where we got a bunch of new machines with 3090s, and there was no point having these machines without being able to actually use them. So we got Redshift. So I've been crash coursing Redshift this year, basically. And your competition, I was like, bam, this is perfect. I can learn how to texture with it. I can learn how to light. And while I'm doing this, it will only improve my work at work. So that's basically the reason why I entered this competition, was to learn.
That's a win-win for sure.
I did not expect to be here.
It's a win-win-win. That's a three for
A win-win-win, yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, all right. So you were using physical. By the way, physical render is like physical render is rough, guys. I don't know. It's like the slowest CPU based. It's extremely slow. It doesn't even look that good. I mean, I guess it looks fine.
Well, you can get it there, but
Yeah,
it's hours if
It's
you want
manual.
to get it there for a singular frame. Yeah,
Isn't
it's
it?
Yeah, and I basically, majority of my scenes at work, we just couldn't use global illumination half the time. If we're trying to get tons and tons of scenes, like for an oil rig induction, it's hundreds of scenes. So you can't be spending an hour per frame. You're trying to keep it down to 5 to 3 minutes per frame. So things are changing now.
That's
for the
good,
better.
man. That's good. I'm glad that you're on Arnold.
Oh, it's a Redshift, actually.
Sorry, I'm glad you're on Redshift. Ren got me onto Octane. I was on physical render for the longest time. I was dead set on learning physical render because I'm like, nope, that's what the program
What you
ships with.
chose?
Yeah, it was, dude, it was dumb. It was like, I was like, this is what the program ships with. I gotta learn the base program first before I start adding all these plugins. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not gonna know what I know and don't know if I don't know what the program ships with. So, and he was like, dude, he was like pulling his hair. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, nope, I got this. And it was the corridor video. It was the foam Fortnite video where that was like a massive stack of foam noodles that I like, dude, my computer was like, I could have cooked an egg on my computer. It was so hot. And like, it was all physical render, and it took, I think it was like, it's like 30 minutes per frame, and it took like 4 days. And after that project, Ren just grabbed me by the shoulders and he was like, you are learning Octane. And then he showed me Octane Jesus, and I just did those tutorials and grayscale stuff. And yeah, that was the end of that.
Octane would have been a strong contender for us, but one of the main reasons why we kept physical for so long was we've got so many assets that is stuck on the physical render. We're going to have to just update an entire fleet of helicopters to be able to use it, because Redshift uses completely different textures to the physical based render, and different lighting, different camera, and basically across the board you're gonna have to change it. And the texture system, it's a node based texture system for Redshift, So in the physical render, you just stack all your textures on top of your model. And so you could just have your tons of decals for your company logos on top. You can't do that anymore. It's all got to be kind of baked into the one node texture in a material blender.
Yeah, it's kind
Which
of
I hate.
Yeah, it's the same with Octane too. It's like it's really hard to like get logos or stickers or anything in a specific spot unless it's like an alpha
finicky
plane. Or
something. But at the end of the day, everything else is so much better, so much faster, and the fact you can see your lighting in real time. I'm preaching this to people that already know this, but I just love it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start focusing here on the art itself. And we're gonna kind of go through very similar what we were doing with the last artists. So the contest comes along, you hear about it. How do you come up with this idea? What is this?
So it would have been about the 5th of February. I was in a car ride and I actually saw this contest. Like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it was about a 6-hour car journey there and back to Edinburgh. So I started brainstorming ideas. And a lot of it was, I was thinking about video games that I liked and what I could do really good in Cinema 4D. So when I came back, I created a bunch of mood boards. Let's get some up here. And the first thing that I thought up was Monkey Island. One of my favorite
Monkey Island
adventure games. Yeah, it's an ancient point-and-click adventure game.
Okay.
This is art from like the special edition and like a concept art. And I saw this picture and it brought me back to playing it, and I just love the creepy voodoo vibe of it all, thick fog atmosphere in the jungle. And I knew like that's what I want for my background, kind of like creepy, sinister, but then go the complete opposite direction for the interior. I love the style of these ships that have just kind of been like bashed together, barely held, just teetering on the edge. So I just ran with this idea and just jumped straight into cinema. I just rolled with it, and I completely started with something that doesn't look a thing like what I ended up with. It was the basic idea was I would just have this guy sleeping on a boat, just having the best sleep of his life as he was just going down a stream in this creepy jungle, skulls and voodoo and everything going on behind.
That's cool.
But I quickly came into the problem that this is a really fast camera. Like I can't fit a lot into this background because as with all the stuff I had on my scene, it just flew by already.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, I need to bring this way up into the sky. So I flipped it from being a boat to an airship. And for an airship, I feel like you can't really just have a guy fast asleep at the wheel. I'm providing a poor message really here. So I thought, let's have some form of cruise control. And I was thinking, like it could have like an elaborate pulley system, and my mind was racing. And I was like, you know what? The route I'm going down right now, I'm never finishing this project if I go down this route. Let's keep it as simple as possible. We'll have someone else drive the boat.
You're
but
smart,
I want
man.
you guys to notice my thing, because you're going to be seeing thousands of entries. So I needed something a little zany. So I thought, we'll do a frog. So that kind of spawned the next idea, which was inspired by Majora's Mask.
Heck yeah.
So this is kind of backstory that I kind of gave this whole scene, where the frog was actually the man's best friend, and they were artifact Indiana Jones style guys that are just traveling the world looking for cool stuff.
Yeah.
But then one day he puts on this mask that he finds, and it turns him into a frog. So now they're like, well, we need to find a cure. So they've been for years upon years searching the world, trying to find something to turn his best friend back into a human being. So I kind of gave it like the Happy's mask salesman vibe of just like covering the walls of as many artifacts I could find. And like I just looked everywhere on the net for anything that could be artifact based, and I found like a whole library on Sketchfab where it was here it was a Indiana University Library of 3D scans. So I was just finding a mixture of real world items, throwing in stuff like the Majora's Mask and weapons, and just popping it on the wall.
Whoa. Okay. You're saying that two things. They're putting masks. A mask turned him into a frog, and they're trying to turn him back into a human by like finding other artifacts in this world, right?
And I used that, and I tried to like make that my main story throughout, and I crammed lots of little Easter eggs into the scene, which I'll show later on, of just like his books have got like their latest find and what they're going for, and he's got scrolls of maps on the counter trying to find, and I was just like trying to heavily go into the story aspect of this, because I've been watching a lot of Adam Savage's Testa channel on YouTube. And I just love whenever he's doing a build, he's always going on about how he's weathering, how he's trying to tell a story of kit bashing. And I try to take that approach with this project and just really just tell a story with my art.
That's so important. And I think it shows, man. It's like the story is the secret sauce. I think you can have a technically proficient scene, even a scene that looks nice, but if there's no story, then who cares?
And just anything to just grab your guys' attention, because as I was saying, like there's so many entries, it could be really technically sound, but if it's not got a good enough story, it'll just get buried. So I just really wanted to emphasize that point. So that was for the interior. I got that all down, but I was rolling back to what I said about the background. Now that I was going for a more aerial view, I was thinking along the lines of Xenoblades.
Nice.
I've never actually played it, but I love the concept art. It's a big RPG where there's these massive giants where all the people are actually living on them, and they're frozen in time, like mid-conflict. And it's just, they're so high in the sky, and there's just clouds everywhere. And I just love the idea of having these massive objects in the distance, which also just helped with the video because the camera was moving so fast. It needed to be massive to be seen on screen the entire time.
Yes.
So I ran with that idea and mixed it in with your classic Skull Island from the likes of King Kong and Pirates of the Caribbean. And I really liked this concept art here by Jay Livia, the piratey theme with the light coming from the eyes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to combine this with the oversized elements of Xenoblade, and that's where like the arch coming over the top of the skull comes from, the trees all going across the top, and then the light, as you see here, coming from the skull. And that, once I had all those four ideas kind of brought together, I was just at the races.
So you haven't even touched a 3D program yet. You're just gathering the idea.
Well, that's the no. I was in the midst of this in the 3D. Like this was me like coming up with ideas as I was making it. This is not normally how I work. It was a kind of winging it, but like trying to come up with ideas, spawning off other ideas, like the Majora's Mask frog spawning like the story behind it, like why are they here? Well, they're looking for an artifact. Okay, so they're looking at this massive skull in the distance because this skull has the mask that they're looking for.
That's so cool, dude. I love that so much. I love that, those themes. I mean, I'm such an Indiana Jones fan, and like, but turning Indiana Jones into more of like that, like dark. I mean, Indiana Jones is dark too, but like it's like Indiana Jones with that like pirate twist to it. I love that.
Yeah, I just love I love the pirate theme. Like, I just remember being a kid in Disneyland at the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Dude,
ride,
that's the best ride. Yeah,
it's so cute. Well, I liked it before they changed it with Captain Jack Sparrow because it like focuses too much on him, where before it was just lots of little stories.
Yeah.
But I still love it. It's just so good. So I just really wanted to bring that into my project.
Amazing. Okay, so yeah, where are you at this point? What's next?
So I've got various stages now of my scene when I was building it up. So when I've got it here on Cinema 4D. When I first started, I basically just used a complete blank plane in the background and just put some random art that I kind of just get the general color scheme that I wanted and use that as a light. And then I lit kind of the two window areas, and I just kit bashed the entire interior out. I looked upon as many different types of piratey ship assets as possible. Just collected a huge library of it, and then this is the kind of going back to the Adam Savage style, just building it up, try and create a story. Why is this here? Does this help push the story along? And yeah, I did it all just without any textures to begin with, just to get the idea, see if the visual weight works.
Yeah.
And it was around about when I was at this stage, my girlfriend walked in and she was like, why is it facing left? I was like, oh no. So minus the X value, we're back on track.
Wait, so you're saying that the frog was on the left and they were moving to the left?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, so they were like moving backwards. I really hadn't been moving the camera enough at that point.
Oh, so your camera was still moving to the right. You were still moving to the right, but the frog was looking out the back of the bus, essentially.
Yeah, I was so focused on just building up the scene without moving the camera that I completely forgot the orientation.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's why you need to step away, reread the instructions, and don't get too laser focused on what you're doing, because you can miss some pretty obvious things like that. That's why it's always great to have someone else have a look at the stuff you're doing.
Good advice. Very good advice, actually. Let's say that again, because I think that's really important. Take time, step away from what you're doing, and have someone else that you trust look at it and just give you, like, they'll say their first couple thoughts, and I think those will be important.
Yeah. So I then started to add all the artifacts in. This was, let me get the camera. Scene fairly chucks. Added all these artifacts in from that museum site on Sketchfab, and put like vibrate tags onto them just so it kind of jiggles along with the airship.
Hey, Euan, can you do me a favor?
Yep.
If hopefully this won't break things, can you share your screen on Discord with me so I can see what you're looking at?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Let's do.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep.
So, all these artifacts, I added the vibrate tags to kind of help with some movement, and I started adding as much little details as possible. So, started adding like books into the foreground, kind of showing their general path of where they want to go. I used various. It was a mixture of just drawing it on my Wacom tablet / using just assets I could find on Shutterstock just for like a waterfall scene. And then I just made up this banana mask. It's all nonsense, but it helps. It builds a story.
So you drew these out yourself?
A mixture of them. I drew this. That was a Shutterstock asset.
Yeah.
I was running out of time at that point. And then I was like, I need to add lots of just different scenes to like show that these guys are partners. So I took the frog and decided I gotta just have him jamming out.
Oh man, dude, that's so like the fact that it's animated. You didn't even it was a snapshot in the final piece, but
that's the beauty of Mixamo. You can get any animation you need and just throw it on, and it just works.
That's kind of the best thing ever, dude.
Yeah. And where was the... And then, I just had the portrait of the two. This was the older version of the frog. The frog itself, gotta give credit where credit's due. Well, I'll start with the main man. The man's called Hopper, and the frog is called Croaks. Hopper, I got his head from this guy. What's his name again?
CG Trader?
Mac Armlitsky on CG Trader.
I love CG Trader.
And then I took the head and I attached it to an Adobe Fuse body. Now, Adobe Fuse is no longer a thing anymore, and it shows, because if you still have it installed on your machine and you try to launch it, it just doesn't launch. You have to like click the launch button about 30 times, and then it'll open up about a bajillion copies of it.
Okay.
But when you do get it working, it's kind of like a character creator where you can choose from a various series of presets. And so I got him into a nice little kind of Indiana Jones style costume, and colored it all to actually match what I was going for. And for the frog, He was this Mexican poncho-esque frog from Sketchfab. It's brilliant. A part of me wanted to keep the Mexican theme, but I decided that I want to make him a captain, so I gave him a captain captain hat instead, which was a nice little sculpture.
Yeah, I think that fits better for sure.
I ended up changing the texture. Annoyingly, you can't see it in the viewport here, but you can see it in the final render, where I kind of went for a more neon green-esque just to match the color scheme and to keep it more consistent because it was multicolored. So for the background, these are massive. These look like they're massive arches, but they're just a tiny little rock arch formation. It's just a 3D scan, and yeah, it's just this tiny arch. And what I did was I selected various vertices on the top, and I cloned a bajillion trees over the top of it. I just chopped the top off of some palm trees and just did a multi-instance. If I did it as a standard object, it would have absolutely crashed the whole thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it
What
worked out well.
graphics card are you using? How much VRAM do you have for your scene?
I've got 3080, so it's 10 gigs. If I was using the ones at work, I would have been doing a lot better, but this is only allowed to be done
No,
at
that's
home,
great.
So
10 gigs is
I
like
kept to our
reasonable.
limitations.
Yeah,
It was more than
attainable.
enough.
Yeah.
The fact I got this all working in one scene as well. I didn't need to separate my scenes, which
Amazing.
in hindsight, I really probably should have.
No,
But
I mean, you
worked
did
out.
it. Yeah, you did it. It's great.
For the clouds, I used volume VDBs.
Sweet.
That's something the physical renderer can never do, and that again, like, it's so simple. You can get free assets online for clouds, and it's not just like a flat plane. This is a full 3D volumetric cloud, and I just pasted that a ton across the scene, and because it's just rotating it around, you can't tell it's the same cloud over and over.
That is
The
what's up.
skull, it is a CT scan of a gorilla.
Cool.
I took it, and then I went for the whole absolute massive island aspect of it, made it huge, scattered it around. That's a hot 4D ocean.
Oh, dude. Oh, hot 4D. What version of C4D are you in right now?
So I'm in R25.
You got
in January
hot 4D
we
working?
got up to date. Yeah, it was an absolute nightmare, and we had to get it on all the render clients as well. And this was more on my coworker. He had to like code in like a new API for each version of the app to get it working.
What? Okay,
And I
wait,
think
hold
some
on.
of the machines still don't work.
Because I think the last version I was able to get hot 4D. By the way, for the people who don't know, hot 4D is like the best ocean generator for Cinema 4D, but it's old and it only works on like R22 and lower or something like that. But you're saying that you custom coded it with someone from
Well, it
work to
wasn't so
get it?
much custom coding it. It was just more a case of updating it to use the latest version of the Cinema 4D API. It's, if you look on the website where you can find Hot 4D, there's guys talking about tutorials on how to do it.
Oh my God.
I went through it so many times and it was so finicky, but eventually got it working. The ocean actually
Jeez.
we used before Hot 4D was Infinite Ocean, and it's really good. It's like a nice has tons of presets, but it's physical renderer only. So Hot 4D so far is my top choice for
It's
Redshift.
the best. Yeah, it's
Not
what
that I
used
have
for...
much experience since January, but from what you're saying as well, Hot 4D is where to go.
Yeah, it's
Because I saw your tutorial with the car and the
Yeah.
oil rig in the background, and that's where we got the idea to use it.
dude. It's the best.
It's so good.
So real quick, before you go on, we have about 10-ish more minutes. If you want to finish your breakdown here, and then we can take it to Q&A. If you guys want to start asking questions, start throwing them in at pwnisher or me in the chat, and we'll see you. But yeah, please continue.
So I'll jump into the animation segment. So for animating it, it was all hand keyframed, and well, the prize I got for second place is the motion
gloves.
capture gloves.
Yeah.
I wish I had them so much for this project.
That's what's
That
up.
would have made it so much easier. This was like the most time-consuming aspect of the whole thing, was just animating this guy play the banjo. And I've got no idea how to play the banjo. So I was just watching tons of clips on YouTube trying to replicate. And I got like a 5-second clip off of Pirates of the Caribbean ride. There's a guy strumming away on a banjo. And I sped it up and I took it into Cinema 4D at the very beginning. And I just kind of used my ear and just tried to match each finger movement to the guy playing the banjo.
You referenced Pirates of the Caribbean ride from Disney.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's all about story, man.
Dude, that's some deep reference.
So I did that for that. Then I added this general sway to the guy just so he wasn't so ultra rigid. So he was just strumming away. For the frog, I got a Mixmo motion capture of him just driving. Then I just cut off all the animation there just so he was in the right position, locked his hands to the steering wheel. But initially I wanted to have him jumping all over the shop, like hitting levers and that. But I quickly realized, yeah, I'm running out of time here. So instead, I just went full meta and just had him like turn to the camera and nod. I just thought that's funny enough, so let's go with that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That worked out fine.
It's perfect. It's a chill scene, you know. It works
exactly.
out.
I don't need to make it over the top. And then I thought add a little bit more flair, add a bit more animation, have a flying turtle in the background because why not?
Absolutely.
So I love when I just had his arms up. He just kind of looks like he's like wee.
That's great.
Dips down. And that's just the pterodactyl model mixed in with a 3D scan of a turtle. And then it was just a case of adding layer upon layer in After Effects. Like when I go through this, you'll just think, what has that done? But it all builds together to just create the overall scene. I did quite a few AOV passes. That's when you render out your project, you can do various passes to just highlight your reflections, your specular lights, and your shadows. So I did a ton of those and just slowly overlaid them onto my model, or onto my render, sorry, and just slowly build it up. I came into a weird glitch actually where the guy's skin and the subsurface scattering started glowing just briefly at the very beginning. So
weird.
Did a nice little quick fix with that where I just overlaid it again onto his face and then just killed the red value. Quick and dirty, but did the job. Perfect. And I had a bunch of weird flickering where I just re-rendered and overlaid that on the top. Some dust layers which you can get just free off YouTube and just overlay it over the top. Pipe smoke, which is just you take a null in Cinema 4D of the pipe smoke position, take it into After Effects, and then take some Action Essentials, and then there you go. You
Dude, I have always been like trying to figure out how to get a null from C4D into After Effects.
It's super simple.
You just export, save your project, import it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just when you save here, it's in the multipass image, the compositing project file. You just save it here and make sure you've got a place to save it, and then just make sure you add all the data that you need, and yeah, just put your null in, you're good to go.
Dude, this whole stream is worth it just for that right there.
And yeah, it was just various layers, basically trying to fix all the little problems in the scene that were popping up for flickering, adding fake kind of volumetric light to the frog coming through the window because I felt it was a little dark up in the corner.
Cool.
And then yeah, that's like your before and after with After Effects, just kind of brighten everything up and just make everything pop.
Amazing, dude. And it's like, to me, it's night and day. And there's a lot of artists who had a really nice final result, but they just needed a little bit of color correction. They needed a little bit of spice on it. And honestly, just needed to be brightened up and have a little bit more contrast. And I'm glad you did that.
I did want to keep like the darker colors, but like a lot of the time, especially when I was doing a lot of the test renders before, I was thinking, oh, this looks great, but I'm hiding so much in my detail. You can't be afraid to show off what you've worked on, because it's kind of almost pointless. So just to know when to use shadows in certain places. And then from there, yeah, it was just a bunch of sound effects, but I won't play that on stream in case that messes up with anything.
So if you guys have questions for Euan, please just at pwnisher me here in the chat, and we're gonna ask some questions. Let me scroll up and see if there's any blasted. No, not yet. Get them in, y'all. Get them in, and then we're gonna do. We got one more artist left to interview. But dude, I freaking love this color scheme so much.
Thank
The
you.
green is like just so beautiful, and their materials, textures, and the idea. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and totally deserved, dude. Second place, 100%. Like,
Thank you so much.
it's so difficult choosing the like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, because they're all just so darn good.
I was watching the top 100 live, and like I think you placed me like it was 70 odds when I came up in the top 100, and I was just thinking, I'm never on this. There's just so many amazing animations, and I was just so happy to be in the top 100 itself, let alone be here on stream. This is insane. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I want to note too that what Visual said. He said in the chat that that's the way to do assets, man. You took the assets and you used them and you hid them and you used them in a custom, unique way that you can't tell they're assets.
Yeah,
that's the way to go.
And the thing is, I kind of worked in the opposite level to how Alex did it, where I've got like all my engines and that and cogs down here, but they're all nonsense. They're not connected to anything. It's just there for visual flair, just a bit of extra noise to add to it, help tell the story. But just a nice, easy little addition, which can help go a long way for your scenes. Just having stuff going, vibrate tags, just going crazy in the background, like so.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Color palette, the green. What was that based off of? What made you choose that?
That was going back to the Monkey Island shot I was talking about, the voodoo-esque voodoo lady in the jungle.
Yeah.
I just loved that kind of green vibe and just the kind of creepiness. I think when I was doing my sound effects, like when it goes past the skull, I've just got this like Nordic choir going off just to kind of make it a little unsettling as it happens. But then in the complete polar opposite, in the interior, we just got our man chilling with his Captain Frog taking him home.
Amazing. Let's see, what else do we have here? How much per day did you work on the project? Did you just do like 2 hours a day, or was it kind of more broken up where you just do huge chunks on the weekend, or what?
Well, I work full time, so it was a case of just cramming the weekends when I can and working evenings. But the majority of the work was done across 2 weekends, but like full on days, and then trying to get here or there in the weekend. But you gotta be careful not to burn yourself out when you're doing this stuff, because if it's not fun, then why are you doing it? You're doing your entire day only doing 3D at that stage. So, but I just had a blast doing this the whole way through. I was just super into the concept, and when you are, it doesn't feel like a job. It just feels like fun.
Heck yeah, man. That's like there are times when it does feel that way. There are times when it feels like a drag, and I think cherishing the times where it is fun the whole way through is like, it should be cherished.
Exactly, because it's a hobby at the end of the day as well as my job. So you should enjoy your hobbies.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not, like that can be scary. It's like, I'm not enjoying my hobby. What does that mean? Well,
exactly. Yeah.
Maybe go for a walk. Take some time away. Take some time away.
Go outside.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a serious thing. And I know it sounds like I'm joking, but honestly, I do think a little break from your hobby. If you're not having fun doing your hobby, you should take a break from it for a while.
Absolutely.
And really go outside, go for a walk, go for a run.
Well, that's actually how I got majority of my ideas for this project, was just stepping away, going outside, just having a think and away from a screen. And that's where I pretty much came up with everything, just not looking at a screen.
Yeah.
And it just helped a ton.
100%, man. Well, Euan, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming and doing this. I can't wait to keep in touch with you and see what else you do. You're absolutely incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, brother.
Thanks.
All right. have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your evening in Scotland, and I'll see you soon.
See ya.
All right, peace, brother. Kris.
Hey.
Dude, what's up?
Not much. How about you?
Getting through the tail end here of an epic live stream, man. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. Been watching the stream.
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. Lots of good stuff. Lots of good breakdowns.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations, man. This first place right here, absolutely wonderful, beautifully lit, beautifully rendered, beautifully colored, beautifully designed, beautifully animated. Oh my god, I can go on and on and on with this thing, man. You know, before we hop into it, because I know we're gonna get into the art here, give me a little bit of background on yourself. When was the first time you opened a 3D program?
Ooh, the first time I think would be with Cinema 4D R14, I think, and that was like in I think 2009. But like the first time I actually like really started to focus on doing 3D was pretty much like in like 2016, 2017. I started to actually like make some 3D art that I would like consider to be good. Like I was proud of it pretty much. Because before that, it would basically be like a few years. I go a few years between like trying to do something in 3D, but getting kind of frustrated because there definitely is like a learning curve with a lot of that stuff.
Absolutely.
But it was definitely in like the late 2016 that I started to actually like focus on trying to do like some kind of character, some kind of environments, and then it just kind of went from there.
Okay, so you started out and kind of you would go take breaks from 3D, long breaks from 3D, and you would kind of come back to it, and because it is hard, yeah, it can be discouraging, right? Like trying to learn a new language, and not getting any sort of positive feedback from the work you're putting out. So how many years you said between when you first started and work that you started realizing was actually pretty nice?
Yeah, I guess it'd probably be like around 2010 to 2016ish, so like 6 years. But again, there are long gaps in between then and there, between like me actually like working in Cinema 4D on something.
Yeah.
Because the whole time, basically, I was doing like stop motion animation before that, as like my actual sort of job. And as time went on, I started to incorporate like a little bit of like 3D stuff here and there. Occasionally there'd be like some 3D like props, things like that, that is just easier to do in 3D. And they were like little baby steps, kind of like led up to me actually transitioning from doing stop motion animation into doing 3D as like a full-time career.
Okay, so when you say baby steps, you mean like life milestones, things that happen, like you got a job here, et cetera, or like you learned a specific skill set? Yeah,
definitely learning a specific skill set. Like with my entire career, from after like 2016, 2017, when I started doing things, it was still a bunch of baby steps working out to basically where I am today, where I do like one sort of small project after another. And by like a small project, I mean like doing like these short, like, 10-second clips, kind of like what I did here, but on a smaller scale, just to learn like one aspect of doing things. Like early on, I did like, I created like tried to create like sort of a short film that focused on humanoid characters, which is something I never did before. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't do faces back then, and I couldn't really do like great human detailed modeling with like fingers and like having like all sorts of like making the character look more detailed. So for that character, I put like a mask on them. I made them like wearing gloves, all sorts of things that like really tailored themselves to like what I was good at that point, but still pushed me forward just like a little bit. To make like a humanoid character that I could actually sort of like try to make a story out of,
Oh, that's very smart. Okay, so you're taking on projects that push you enough to challenge you just enough so that it's still looking good, but you're also learning something while doing it, and you're also doubling down on like the things that you enjoy doing, and the things that you do well. So you're playing to your strengths, but also challenging yourself a little bit. Too.
Because if you like go back through like, if you look through like my entire like Instagram or something like that,
what is your
see,
Instagram?
Like with every like, my Instagram is basically just my name, so it's Kris Theorin, Theorin.
Okay, if
just
one of the
all
mods
thing.
wanted to put that in the chat, we can pin it up. So Kris,
Yeah, and I post there.
KRIS.
Yeah, I post on my YouTube and my Instagram with all like the sort of clips I do. But yeah, just looking
What's your
through
YouTube?
both of those.
Sorry to cut you off again, but what is
Yeah, my YouTube would be Kris dash something's awry. Yeah, that's basically the best way I can describe that. But
for sure, yeah, we'll get it all in the description as well.
Yeah.
Once we go off. But okay, yeah. So
but
apologies. Continue.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, looking through like my YouTube and my Instagram, you can see like with every like video I post, like, oh, there's like a new technique he did there. Like, oh, he did hair simulations on that one. And then the next one, it's like, oh, he started like experimenting with like adding like little fibers to clothing, things like that. Where every like little short thing I do builds off of the previous thing I just did.
That makes a lot of sense. That was actually something that Corridor did early on, and Freddie as well. When Freddie was doing Freddie W, they would have little VFX videos, 1 to 2 minute videos, and they would just be testing out an effect that they know they want to get better at, or they know that they want to use later on for a bigger idea. And each short film would be a way to test out a new little technique, and to learn. So it's like it's a twofer. You're putting out cool stuff,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you're also learning at the same time. Okay, so let's focus on this art here. This is absolutely amazing. To me, the thing that stands out is the lighting. It's so well lit. The animation too, of course, all the detail you put into everything, but really it's the lighting. And I'll ask about, the beginning of the process, but I want you to touch on the lighting first. What are some things how are you lighting the scene to have it look so crispy and so punchy?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so for lighting, this was like all my things, I'm just a fan of doing like adding like a direct sunlight into a room and just having it come through a window and look at like the global illumination, sort of light everything up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a big fan of that look. So coming into this, like I really wanted to do something like that. So that's why we have this sort of setup. But the main thing I learned like a few years ago, sort of trying to do this, is it's not just enough to set up like a sunlight object and just shine it through your window, because even though maybe your character's lit up, you very quickly realize that like everything else, it's like kind of there, like you can kind of see it, but it really has no definition. So when I actually go into my scene later, you'll see there are so many invisible lights highlighting every corner of the scene pretty much. And I've turned them down just enough so that they don't overpower from like the center of the frame, but they're there. So things like the bed in the corner, the tube in like the bottom right corner, and all of, like the other shelves, each of them has a specific area light just like pointing at it and very dimly lit, because if I took them all out, it's pretty much dark and sort of kind of muddy in the corners, and that really doesn't let the colors and all that stuff sort of shine.
You're welcome to pull up your scene now. We can hop into it.
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll go backwards. Then we'll work backwards.
Yeah.
Or rather, we'll go back to the start and then come forwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that a crash? What was that?
Oh yeah. We'll come back to that one.
That's funny. Okay, you gave us a little sampler on the lights. Let's go to the beginning. We'll come back to the lights. How'd you start this thing? The challenge comes out, you get word of it, and what's the next thought in your mind?
Yeah, so coming up with the idea for this, it was basically a collaboration between me and my brother, going back and forth with what sort of idea we wanted to do. Originally, we had the idea of doing basically a murder mystery on a train, where you basically you see a dead body and like a detective, and you have like clues in like various corners as to like what sort of happened. But we couldn't really figure out a way to make that sort of feel unique in terms of like its setting. Mm-hmm. So that sort of transitioned into doing a cross between the turret scene from Star Wars Episode 4, where they're like in the Millennium Falcon with the turrets and they're swiveling around shooting TIE fighters.
Yeah.
And then the star creatures from Super Mario Galaxy, where in that game you're able to basically shoot a bunch of like gems into their mouth until they basically expand into an entire planet.
Nice.
And the whole thing's just adorable. So we love doing that idea, and that sort of transitioned into what we have now.
Amazing. So you guys collaborated on like the ideation of like what would be like the final result, and you once again used video games as a reference. I think that is a very common thread for, was it all of you guys at this point, myself included? Like, games, man, it's such a huge inspiration. That's cool to hear. So going back to the beginning here, how are you starting to concept? You have your overall idea, but how do you start finding out the specifics and getting the different references and whatnot?
Yeah, so I mean, here you can see my Pinterest board I sort of set up for the main character, since that really was the focus of the whole thing. And I really like the idea of doing sort of this sort of mechanic character who's just kind of like having fun doing her job, which apparently is just feeding these like space Nombler looking aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that basically informed how I made the entire environment, where instead of like your typical sort of sci-fi turret spaceship set, it looks more kind of like a bedroom, like a cozy sort of area where you'd like to hang out and sort of look down at the planets pretty much, which is like the main reason you see like there's a carpet on the floor, you got like a bed in the corner, and then just a bunch of posters and coffee and all sorts of things that like you wouldn't really necessarily think of when you like imagine a sci-fi spaceship, but that's really sort of the idea that I love doing, because not only is it like super colorful to look at, but it doesn't feel so sort of like as cold as, you know, a typical spaceship might be.
Yeah, it's personalized to her, which is like, it feels very unique.
Yeah, so for like these references, like I like the idea, you can see they all sort of, or some of them have like the same sort of like bright orange pants as a focal point of the character's design. And that transitioned into basically the sketch that I had done, which is, it's a pretty quick sketch, really just for me, but it gets down sort of I did it to figure out sort of what aspects I'm going to pull from like these Pinterest boards. Like I'll take like the pants from this thing, the boots from another thing. And of course, with like any sci-fi thing, you got to have the robot arm in there. It's basically like a requirement. So we had that as well. Didn't bother with the face because I'm not great at drawing faces. And I knew once I started to sculpt the actual thing, it was going to change anyways. So this was just to inform the clothing themselves. But yeah, once I did that, it basically transitioned into me doing the actual ZBrush sculpt, which you can see here. So there are no eyebrows on the character anymore. So she looks a little weird, but you can see sort of what the final result ended up being based on that one sketch.
That's beautiful. How long did that take?
This sculpt took about a full day. And that's using like a combination of like elements that I sculpt from scratch, and then some other elements that are like pre-made elements that I'll get and I'll modify to sort of fit this character. It's a great way to like save on time without having to start everything from scratch, you know?
Yeah. I need to learn ZBrush. Goodness, man. Ooh.
Yeah, ZBrush, it's a great program. It definitely has it definitely has a learning curve and can have a few extra buttons that it actually needs, but it can be great for doing very detailed sculpts. But yeah, going from that for the character, I just went right to mixmo.com, which is just a great way to quickly rig your character and add like a skeleton, and just to see if like everything's like sort of working right. Because you can see like, oh, is this arm too short? Is it too long? Are all the proportions looking right? And it's always just great to basically add a dancing animation on any character you do, just to see what that looks like. So, you know, that's a great way to it's a great way to get yourself started. But I never use Mixamo as a endpoint. I'll always like download that skeleton, take it into Cinema 4D, and basically just clean up all the weights and all that, make sure it sort of works as it should. But here you can see Mixamo really does do a great job at getting you like most of the way there without much work.
Yeah.
So
okay, so you're starting with the character. Just like Alex, both of you guys started with the character. Is there a reason why you started with the character?
Well, I guess it really is like, I like doing the things that sort of motivate me to keep going pretty much.
Yeah.
And personally, I love doing like sort of the character design and sort of getting all the shaders set up and making sure this sort of informs the overall style of the environment itself.
Yeah.
Because my style is like a little bit more cartoony, a bit more stylized, sort of like the Disney style. So it's great for me to get the character all set up, put her in an environment, and then sculpt everything around that to make sure it's basically all in the same style. Because I could just like take like some real world looking assets and just put it next to her, but if the proportions aren't like a little cartoony, it's gonna feel a bit disconnected. So I just wanted to start with that character first. And once I like get the character done and see how it's looking, like that really motivates me to sort of keep going and get like an environment working around that character.
Man, that's a good approach. I did the character dead last, like a day or two before I had to finish my render. And it's really cool to see that your character informs the story. Like that.
Yep.
That makes so much sense. I've always thought of that as, you know, when I do short films, or, you know, I'm writing a movie right now, I'm starting with characters. I figure out the characters, and then the characters kind of define where the story goes. And I never actually thought of that for 3D before. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, really,
beautiful.
I mean, you could do it either. You can certainly do it either way, but it really just comes down to like what's the most important part of your scene. So
Yeah.
definitely for some people, it's like, oh, the environment is definitely the more important part. So we got to start there. But for me, I would say definitely, yeah, the character. I wanted to really sort of make perfect with the amount of time I had.
Yeah, it looks great. Okay, so you have a character. What's next?
Yeah, so next, once I get that Mixamo rig all done, make it look good, I texture in Substance Painter, render in Cinema 4D with Redshift, and then it's on to the facial rig. So I've been doing this, I've been making like these characters for like my Instagram and my YouTube for a few years now. So I've sort of created a workflow as to what sort of blend shapes I'll need for the facial rig. The minimum amount of blend shapes I'll need to create a expressive character that can sort of achieve all the things I want to achieve. So
Yeah.
I even made this this creepy looking blend shape chart, basically, of all the things that I made for my various characters. So you have things like, you know, a half smile, half frown, because these will both be like mirrored on the left and right side pretty much. Various shrugs, sneers, and then sort of like eyebrows, eyelashes, things like that, that every sort of emotion you might need to hit. And these are basically, I say they're bare minimum because you can't put this character in like a Pixar film and have it sort of mesh with everything else. Like this character can't speak at all. There's not like the blend shapes for it. But if she needs to smile or look sad or look angry, she can definitely achieve that. And so once I do all that, which at this point I've gotten it down to around 2.5 hours to create the facial rig, just because I have this whole like chart that I can follow point to point. I end up with sort of this test animation to just make sure I can hit like all the basic emotions that I might need to hit for the actual short. And even though, you know, in the actual thing, you can't really see her face for most of it, I was really hoping to be able to see her reflection in the glass itself, because what her emotion is while she's actually shooting or feeding the space alien thing is also like super important. So even in compositing, I took like that reflection pass of the window and made it like a lot brighter so you can actually see her face. Yeah, and so if we get back into Cinema 4D after that quick crash there, I can just bring back that model.
And hey, do you also mind sharing your screen here on Discord for me so I can get a little larger view of it?
There's so much. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, there we go.
Perfect. Beautiful. All right. Okay, so you're in C4D. You have your character rig. Holy crap! What? Oh my god! How, dude? This is all so foreign to me. How? What are you using in C4D to get these little HUDs for the face? Like, how are you setting this up?
Yeah, these are all with the using like the splines that they have. So you can just use all these circles, all these rectangles, and do some text. I made this whole facial rig. There we go. I made this whole facial rig 2 years ago at this point, or at least, you know, these all these knobs, and I basically copy and pasted all between my various characters, so they all have the same rig. And then I just use a bunch of espresso to sort of rig that all up and make each control line up with different blend shapes.
Wow, espresso. That's a thing that I know so little about, but it's so powerful.
Yeah, espresso. I mean, I'm also very inexperienced with it, but it can be crazy good, especially when you're trying to rig a character. But yeah, you can see basically with the character rig made, if I can, oh wait, that's why. Okay. If I can now sort of make her smile, make her do a smirk.
Whoa.
I can then combine these sort of things to create like these weird just looking sort of shapes here. There you go. Like whatever I'll need the character to do. I can easily break it, obviously, but you know, if I happen to need any sort of motion to be done for the short, it's fairly easy to do that. And we also have various brow controls as well, just to, oh, right. Yeah, just for that sort of thing. So
Holy crap.
yep. So that's the whole rig. There's also just a quick rig for the hands as well, because I did do motion capture for this, but I found before that doing motion capture for fingers does not work out as well as I would like it to. So I basically just have a bunch of pre-made hand positions, like making a fist or doing a resting pose or things like that, just in case I need to quickly animate something, pretty much.
Wow. That's insane. Okay, so you mentioned... I'll just let you keep going. Yeah, just keep going. This is great.
Yeah, so while this loads up all the textures, it's a shame that quit on me, but yeah, I basically then took my character into her pose and did a whole rough sketch around her to sort of figure out what the environment might be. So I got the, this is where I came up with the ideas of doing like the carpet on the ground, adding like tape to the actual window with the don't touch on it. And then various other things just came up in this whole sketching session pretty much. And that turned into what we see here, which is the final environment, which is quite heavy at this point with all the stuff that's happening. So navigating around it can be quite a challenge.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, but you can see pretty much all these different lights here. Actually, I can just, yeah, there we go. All these different squares, they're like kind of hard to see, but you have one that's pointing up in the corner, it's pointing at the shelf. You have this big square that's pointing at the wall itself to sort of highlight that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, surrounding our main character, you have basically a billion different lights set up. Also, you can see here a nice showcase of truly how large the alien ended up being compared to the actual ship itself. Which, once you zoom the camera out, you can see it's super bare bones outside the field of view.
Yeah.
There's not even a bed model that I made. It's just literally a blanket and a pillow, because it's just barely in the corner, pretty much. Yep, you can see basically all these little squares everywhere highlight different parts of it. These are like these blue things at the top are to highlight basically add a rim light to her hat and her hair. You have some other lights just outside the ship pointing at her to highlight the rest of her body. And then you have certain lights that highlight characters, the shelves, and then some other things. So it's a whole lot of stuff everywhere. And you can also, just a quick thing here, you can see I added some of my previously made characters, and you can see they also have the same exact facial rig set up as my other character. I just didn't bother to delete them, so they can technically do some emotions, but obviously they're not like a humanoid character, so they're a bit more limited.
Holy crap, and I'm blown away by all of this. Yeah, I mean, tell me more, please. This is great. So for the animation, I did the motion capture. Even though it's a fairly simple sort of animation that I do, I still wanted to get some of that real world motion. And so basically put on all the sensors and then just mime the motion for basically like 4 minutes, doing so many takes. And it's very funny to look back on this because I could look pretty ridiculous. And I look very intense when I'm like shooting at the alien, but it can be a lot of fun just sort of keep doing it over and over again, and eventually something will work. So I just basically do the exact same thing so many times. I think I probably got like 10 takes. And so once I get that back into Cinema 4D, I'll pick a take that I like, and I end up with basically something that looks like this. And obviously on top, there's a whole lot of keyframed animation.
like there's a bunch of IK to make your hands stick to the steering wheel.
Yeah.
The feet themselves are also just completely hand animated by me using IK as well, because they needed to dangle, and obviously I couldn't do that with like the chair I was sitting in. So that's just why that's doing that. And then you can also see a lot of the facial animation that wasn't really seen in the spot itself, but that I had to do anyways, just for the reflection in the window itself. And then moving through the process, we also have, I also had the background. And one of the reasons I chose to do like a space sci-fi sort of scene is that I knew I could save time by making the background a 2D, making it a 2D sort of setup, as opposed to having to model out a planet, get like volumetrics for like all the gases and like the sun like that. I knew I could find some great like stock photos or things I had lying around, and basically layer them up, Photoshop them into something that looked cool but didn't detract from the actual center of the screen. So you can see I left a big center area for the alien itself to sort of hang out in.
Amazing.
And then I just took that all into After Effects and added some parallax to make it just a little bit more 3D.
Totally. So your lights in the top left and top right, that's just Photoshop, right? Photoshop lights?
Yep. They obviously
not lights, but
informed,
painted. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so they obviously informed basically all the lights I put into the scene itself. So I made sure to light the alien with a blue light and an orange light from behind. And then same with the actual main character. I would add an orange light off in the corner just to simulate the whole sun environment, make sure to like sort of all match together.
And are you pulling the planet from NASA, their free stuff?
No, I just looked up, I think I looked up like planet in orbit or something like that. And I found this like super high quality thing. I don't think it was NASA, but something. And I just did a quick like skew effect on it to add like just a subtle amount of parallax.
Yeah.
And then some turbulent displacement on the wispy atmosphere itself, because that was something I really liked the look of. And I wanted to make sure to have something like that, as opposed to the softer, more blurred looking blue atmosphere we're used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so basically then it just went to rendering it out. So this is the raw render that I get out of Redshift. This whole thing took about like 15 hours to render, but that's on, I have multiple GPUs that I render this on, so it on a single GPU would take probably far longer than that. But
yeah, 15 hours is not bad at all, dude.
Yeah, no, but again, if this was on a single one, it'd probably be up to multiple days. So luckily that didn't happen, because it did come down to the wire to get this submitted. I think I got it in like 4 hours before. And the final, the final submission is basically a Frankenstein version of different renders that I had to redo over and over again because of various glitches that happened. Throughout. Same. So yeah, it got quite stressful. Like, you know, you wake up the Sunday of submitting, and I see like, oh, the glove is like has these weird like little baby spikes coming out of it because like stuff was like glitching, and then I have to render like that part of it again for like, you know, 6 hours and hope that it all works out the second time. And then yeah, the last step pretty much was we have like some quick wireframes with here's one without textures that I just did for fun. And yeah, compositing wasn't as extensive as I might usually do. Basically, once I got it into After Effects, I realized that there's like too much detail. Like it's really part of it really detracts from what I'm trying to look at, because I couldn't really figure out where the focal point of the shot was. Pretty much if you see this wipe here, the compositing that I did pretty much involved the background, which is I took out a lot of these stars. I lowered the opacity of a lot of like the planets and things like that, and it became overall like a lot softer, and really framed the space alien in this black void pretty much, as opposed to in the original render where it's a bit harder to like sort of spot where everything might be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also just added like vignettes, blurred the corners, added some chromatic displacement, but tastefully, of course.
Oh, and God, dude, that can overdone. Yeah. I didn't even notice it on yours. I didn't even notice it. That's great.
It is truly subtle in the corners. You can like kind of see it on the TV, but yeah, I always add that, but I make it so very subtle because yeah, it can be truly overdone, but it can help a little bit for some of the realism. Then yeah, we got some optical flares on the nebulas and a bunch of glows everywhere on the space alien, on the computers, all the lights. And then that's pretty much it. I did sound design over top of that, which you can't see in the actual the render that I submitted, but I had a lot of fun just doing these crazy space Nombler noises of him like eating all the candies, and it's truly ridiculous, but that was just a lot of fun. So
it sounds like Little Big Planet. I don't know if you ever played that game, when you get the prize bubbles. Like, it's such a satisfying
it
sound.
definitely has some of those vibes for sure. Yeah. The cannon itself, like the sound design on that, definitely so many Little Big Planet vibes with that. It was basically just like a popping noise that I did, as opposed to like your classic cannon or machine gun sound. So that was just a lot of fun to do.
If you guys have any questions for Kris, please at me here in the chat, and let's get these questions in. I'm sure there's a lot. I saw one. Do you plan on making tutorials? Do you make tutorials?
Yeah, I don't really plan on doing tutorials at the moment. Basically, the most I do is after all my projects, I'll do like these breakdowns, which are a lot of fun to do. And it's basically just a very quick walkthrough of like all the stuff I do. But in terms of like tutorials, those are definitely a bit more involved. So probably not at the moment, but I'm always happy to answer questions on like either YouTube or Instagram, because I love to just explain like the whole process.
Dude, this is incredible. This is
Thanks.
Very, very special. Let's see. People are also curious. Are you on Windows or Mac? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. So yeah, I use Parsec to actually work on my Windows computer, but I do not really like Windows that much. I find Macs to be much more user-friendly, or at least they're kind of what I'm used to. So I'll use Parsec to basically screen remote share into my computers, which are like in another part of my house. And then I'll just do all the compositing, all the modeling and things like that on my Mac.
Crazy.
But, but Macs, they don't really have the GPUs to do like redshift rendering and things like that these days. So, that's sort of why I do that.
Okay. Got you. Let's see. What's your main takeaway from this project? What do you feel that you walked away with on this one? Besides winning all the prizes and everything, and I'll see you at Camp MoGraph later this year. Besides all that stuff.
I would say at least a good bit of advice that like I sort of learned on this project and like the previous projects I've done is to break everything up into like these little chunks. And it's really just a psychological thing that I do where I'll break down these like much larger projects into smaller like sort of things I need to complete. And I'll just focus on those and not even try to think about like all the other like random things I got to do. So it starts with like, okay, like, cause if I basically took this project at face value, I'm like, all right, I got to create like a computer character, a whole rigged humanoid character, a background, an alien. I got to create two versions of that, like a small alien and like a big, expanded one. And then I have to do all the other stuff on top of that. It just feels super overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I basically, even though like it's good to, manage your time, but in terms of just how I think of it, I'll just be like, okay, my only thing I got to do is I got to finish this character, this humanoid character. That's all I got to do. And then after that, once I think about all the stuff I have to do, it's a bit less daunting because now I have one thing checked off pretty much. And that's how I've done much larger projects like short films and things like that, where they can certainly be like pretty intimidating if you just sort of take it at face value.
So you just focus on one step at a time, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, most people do that, but again, it's just a way of like psychologically sort of framing it in your mind as opposed to like, how you might manage like a project.
Absolutely. Did you ever like that's something that, you guys probably heard me say this, but it's something that I'm trying to get better at is time management and being realistic with the time I have and still trying to do the most in that time, Yeah.
It definitely is like, it's so tough when you're doing some of these 3D things because they can be like, there are parts of 3D that are like so fun to do. And then there are parts that are just like the worst. Like they can be very like soul sucking to have to do. But, it's definitely a fight for me between like, focusing on those fun elements and having to get to like doing like the weight painting and rigging and all that stuff that might be a little more tedious.
Yeah, absolutely. Random question. What did you do for the ammo coming out of the gun? I noticed it wasn't in your final render. Did you just come back around for like another pass in a separate project file or something?
So originally the originally I had it as a simulation where I'd submit all these sort of all the candies, and I was trying so long to get them to go into the character's mouth, and like sort of collect there. But sometimes Cinema 4D, its physics can just like not cooperate. So after a while, I just sort of deleted that emitter, and just decided to do it in compositing with particular. So I basically just rendered out like a still image of the candy itself, and then I just randomized the color and just spat it out into basically the general area of where it goes. And that's unfortunately like why these last candies sort of just like fade into like oblivion. They don't really go anywhere. They just kind of become small and very hard to see, as opposed to bouncing off the alien and going every which way.
Oh, to be honest, it kind of looks like they're almost like it's carbonation that it fizzes out. That's
yeah,
kind of
true.
Like bubbles that just kind of like disappear.
Yeah, they definitely have that sort of that motion on them for sure. But
that's crazy.
Yeah,
okay, so
I did
what was
like
that,
when
trap
they did
code
that.
particular? Or
Yeah, that was trap code particular. But honestly, no, it's the most basic of sort of emitter effects, just like spewing out like an image into one direction in 3D space. So it could be done like sort of any of After Effects particle stuff.
How did you animate the alien himself, like, or itself?
The alien, that's pretty much a bunch of vibrate tags on every limb, pretty much. So the vibrate tag in Cinema 4D just tells like the rotation of the limb to just go like every which way, but I turned it way down, so it's going really slowly, pretty much. So while there was some keyframe animation done to make sure the alien was in the right spot when it was getting shot at, basically all the limbs after that, even when it's getting shot, are just me telling it, all right, for this like 5-second chunk, you're going to move like really fast with your limbs. And Cinema 4D just kind of randomizes that motion, and it looks pretty good. So that's just kind of how I did that.
And when it blows up?
Yeah, blowing up that's why I had to make 2 versions of the alien. So we had the standard one where I basically inflated its face using a bunch of blend shapes to sort of make it look like it was expanding like a balloon. Yeah. But then there's a point after it where you can see it transitions to a completely different model right as it blows up.
Okay.
And it becomes like a round alien that I just scale up and add a bit of animation on top of.
Yeah.
And so you don't really notice it in the quick motion and all the lights and all that stuff, but that's how I did that.
That's smart. Dude, that's amazing. I'm like, how did you transform one model into this completely different model? And it's just 2 models. And
yeah, if I had to do it like a lot slower, it would be just impossible. If it had to be like some sort of like werewolf transformation into this giant round alien, it would have been truly difficult. And I wouldn't have wanted to do that.
Jeez, man, this is an absolute masterpiece. Your workflow is absurd, super on point, very efficient, very effective. I feel like with this challenge specifically, I feel like all of these other renders have just blown what I can do out of the water, and like y'all have gone so far, and I'm just trying to keep up with y'all at this point, because this is masterful.
I mean, there were like so many good entries in this. Like when I was watching the stream, I was like, oh man, there's just like no way I can get in the top 5 with like some of these great looking entries that like people clearly spent like so many hours on.
Man, well, congrats, you got first place. I'll be seeing you at Camp MoGraph, man. That's gonna be awesome. You've never been before, excited. Have you?
Yeah, no, this will be my first.
Oh, for everyone watching, it's the greatest thing ever. It's on, I think tickets go on sale April 20th. And it's in like September, I believe, middle of September, and we'll just be chilling on the beach, learning from each other, going down zip lines, playing hacky sack, and going to different little conferences and fireside chats. It's gonna be sweet. It's like the best thing ever. Last year was the greatest time ever. But it'll be cool to see you there, Kris. Congrats again, dude.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I'll let you go. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And best of luck, man. Keep crushing it. I'll see you later this year.
All right. Sounds good.
Peace out, brother. Later, man.
Thanks. See ya.
Wow. Holy crap. Yo, that was That was insane. Very, very, very inspirational. I hope y'all learned something. I learned a whole lot of stuff. As soon as this stream is over, I'm going to do the weekly challenge winners. We're going to go over that right here, right before we wrap it out. And I'll essentially add all the tags and the chapters and all the artists' info where you can find them as soon as the stream is up. So definitely look out for that. But I hope you guys had a good time. This was really fun. We're definitely going to be doing this for the challenges from now on at this point, at least top 5, because there's just so much to learn from everybody, and each person has like their way of doing it. They have a different approach, but we saw a lot of similarities too at the same time. It was really cool to see that everyone here was like inspired a lot from video games, which is really cool. And everyone started out with like a reference and at least some sort of sketch to help guide their path. Starting with characters, that's very interesting. I'm so bad at characters, it's terrifying for me to do, but I think, you know, it really depends on what y'all are trying to do. It depends on what you're trying to learn. You know, if you want to start focusing on characters, if you're an environment artist, then, you know, maybe knowing a little bit about characters is probably a good thing. But if you're trying to be a generalist, then I think knowing about characters is an absolute requirement. It is my downside 100%. So this really inspired me to learn characters. I mean, maybe to take on ZBrush perhaps, or Substance Painter. Those are 2 programs that are very high on my list right now. I just can't believe his lighting. Kris's lighting is incredible. And it just makes me think like, man, I should spend more time on lighting. I gotta spend more time on lighting because it adds so much. Very, 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 very inspirational. Wow. Let's hop into the weekly challenge, shall we? Let's switch on over. All right. Soto, can you go full screen for me there so I can see the names here? Yeah, thanks, brother. Sweet. All right. Let's get into it really quick, shall we? Let me get all set up here. Full screen. We got the chat. Appreciate y'all. Shout outs to you guys. Papaxo, what's up, dude? Thanks for hopping in. Everybody here who's hung out with me, I really appreciate you guys. But let's dive into the art here. So we got 5 winners to announce for this weekly challenge, and the prompt was, I believe it was cozy. I believe the prompt was. So let's start it off. Our first winner here is Oren Cloud with this beautiful render. I love the lighting. I love the darkness of this. And it's specifically how the soft light comes in and just illuminates those pillows and the blankets and whatnot. Your color is amazing too. You know, you've been crushing these last challenges, and I love that green yellow palette that you have is absolutely beautiful. I'm a sucker for silhouette stuff, dimly lit silhouettes, and you're crushing it with this, man. Your render quality is always top notch. This feels cozy to me, obviously, because you got a really nice view. It's lit well. You can look out that window, chill with the book that you see on the couch over there, and just kick back, snug up on a pillow there, and enjoy a good book with a great view. So congrats, Oren Cloud, for winning this one, man. Absolutely beautiful. Next up, we got our boy Ronan killing it on this challenge. Look at this. You're using all these little different tools and pieces, like the postal stamp there as a carpet. You have acorns as lights, little buttons as art on the wall, tiny little flowers, wheat inside of a little tiny glass there. You modeled all the books. Jurassic Park is up there. This is wonderful. You fleshed out this world so well. And a great little character too. I would love to be chilling up in this thing. And there's a little ladder that goes down on the right too. That's freaking amazing. Heck yeah. Ronan, congratulations. You know, since you're a moderator, you know, you're definitely eligible to win these things. Of course you are. It just comes down to the art. Who cares if you're a mod or not? It just comes down to the art. And you showed that you freaking deserve it. This is my favorite one for, you know, for this challenge here. But you can give that challenge winner role to one of the honorable mentions that we'll get into here in just a minute. And all the winners, 15 points to you, by the way, towards your rank on the Discord server. We got tiers, and y'all will level up throughout the months, throughout the years here, and get some really cool badges on Discord. So next up, we have Under, with an absolutely beautiful little setup here. I love this so much. Your attention to detail is incredible. Your lighting is incredible. You really, really captured this vibe. I remember when I visited Ireland and we had a spot in Dublin. They had a little rooftop chill spot that felt exactly like this. And there was a cat just right in the top of the frame. There was a cat as well. It was a little outdoor spot with a bunch of plants. The light was filtered through the leaves and whatnot. And we had breakfast up there. We met a couple who was chilling pretty much just like this. It was incredible. And this brought me right back to that moment. You know, this is very personal. Obviously, what's cozy to me may not be cozy to y'all. But this one really, really spoke to me. It was beautifully lit, beautifully rendered. So congrats to you, Under, for winning the challenge this week. Next up, we have Vazy with this incredible render. And it's a twofer. It's like, you know, I am a sucker for cottages with a bunch of foliage on them, a bunch of ivy climbing up these things. It's very reminiscent of like Kiki's Delivery Service, a really good Ghibli movie. You have these very romantic environments, and this totally brought me to that spot. Going to grandma's house, chilling, making some apple pie. The night version to me is my favorite. It definitely feels mega cozy. I can't wait for this night to get up in there and have some apple pie and chill out by the fire and relax after a long day of, you know, chopping heads. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, Vazy, this is incredible. I can't wait to see more of your work. Congratulations for winning top 5 on the weekly challenge this week. And finally, we got our boy Yasiji MD. When he's not saving lives as a medical doctor, he's doing sick renders. And this one really spoke to me. I will, when it rains usually, it's very rare that it rains in Los Angeles, but when it does, me and my fiance, we turn the lights off and we go up to the window at the front of the house and we grab a blanket and we just look out onto the street and we see the rain come down. We see the street lights reflecting off of the asphalt. We see the water flowing down by the sidewalk. And this totally reminds me of that. It's a very peaceful time without phones, without TV, without anything. Just the sound of the rain and a loved one cozied up under a blanket, enjoying the view. So this took me there. And I love the books, man. It's all about the books. What makes books so darn cozy? Goodness. So congrats to Oren Cloud, Ronan, Under, Vazy, and YaCGMD for winning the Cozy Challenge this week. But let's hit up some honorable mentions because there's a lot of other pieces of art I think that did a really cool job. So let me just touch on each one of these. Let's jump into it. All right, first up, we got our boy Visual coming at you with a real cozy render. Always crushing it with the render quality, the photorealism. I think he does characters in Daz, and I love that style you got, man. You got a really nice style. Yeah, chilling on the carpet with the blanket, nice hot cup of tea and a book is classic cozy. Very good stuff. Next up, we got Veli. I love this so much. Super cool character. This might be the same artist who did the Infinite Journeys one on the train, with like these like almost stop motion looking puppets. This is beautiful. I just dig your character. I love the little furs coming out of the blanket. Classic cozy by the fire with some tea and a blanket. Very, very good stuff. The lovely taco is next. This one to me almost won. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This one almost won. I love the uniqueness of it. I love the shape of it, how wacky it is. I love the wide angle lens. The colors are awesome too. That's a nice little chill spot that this person has. Fish in here. And this nice little cottage. Beautiful. Good colors too. Very, very nice colors. Next up we have Tappy Kiyosotoku. With this nice little render here. I like what you did. You photo scanned a tree and then made a scene from it. I love it. It's custom. You did it yourself. It's beautiful. Very, very nice. I love your colors. Personally, I would just love to see a little bit more of that interior. It's a little distant for me. It's a little far away. I'd love to get up in there just a little bit more to see what's going on. But I just loved the rain. I love that you used a photo scan tree and made a little world out of it. It's amazing. Next up, we have Scratch. And by the way, all of these honorable mentions, y'all get 5 points towards your rank on the Discord server. So this is super cool. I totally thought this was a photo, but it's a render. And you went a different direction. You drew the character in, and I thought it was super cool. I love that style. I would love to see more of this. I'd love to see a little animated thing. I think that would be awesome. So congrats to you, Scratch. We got One Dead Duck up next. Nice little photoreal render here. Good character. Got the cup of tea with a very, very detailed background that is out of focus. That's a ballsy move right there. Very, very good stuff. I love the photorealism. Super solid. Metatrox is next for honorable mention. This spot, this is a good spot right here. You got the fire. You got the rain in the back. I love your color contrast. The orange and the blue. You really built the scene nicely. I believe it. It feels very natural. It feels very real. And that's where I want to be right now. I want to be in a bathtub right now. I think that would be super solid. I should stream from a bathtub at some point. That would be very interesting. Moving on. M Design is next. I just love this environment. It's super cool. Love the way you lit it too. I've always wanted to have like pillows and blankets all over the floor. That to me is like supreme coziness. I love your lighting here. I love the colors that you're using. Yeah, you put together a nice little short here, showing off. Oh, those rugs. Ooh, that's very nice. Very, very nice. Wherever this is, I want to be chilling there. We got Luco up next. Yeah, this is nice. Very, very, very detailed. Also, I like the way that you're choosing to put all these tungsten warm little lights and pools of light in the corners and on specific spots to highlight the parts that you want the audience to see. You're putting it on the poster there on the left. It looks like some sort of poster. You're lighting up the background with the bookcase. It's very nice. I think you maybe could go a little bit heavier with the moonlight coming in. I think would kind of round it out just a little bit more. But I dig the environment. Also, piano in the background. Big fan. Very good stuff. Lab play. What you got going on here? This is a setup that I have messed around with as a kid. I love forts. Gotta love a good fort. And this feels like that to me. Having the old tube TV under the blankets. Watching your favorite show. Yeah, that's a vibe for sure. Jack the Hack. What you got going on here? Hey, very similar. You got the fort, chilling in your pajamas, watching your favorite desktop background, eating some oranges. Yeah, that's a good time. And I love the color contrast. You got like the orange, and I am colorblind. It could be blue, it could be purple, but it kind of looks purple. Yeah, dude, this is cozy. Super cozy. I am the bug. This is cool. Yeah, I dig your design style here, the render style, toon shaders for sure. It's very simple, you know, it might just be your bedroom, but it's lit very nicely. I love that soft glow. It's very, very nice. Heck yeah. Gorabecca is next. Solid environment. My goodness. I love this lighting here. Coming in at the end of the day, starting to get like golden hour. Right when the sun is about to set. Maybe an hour or 30 minutes before the sun's about to set. This just made me feel like this kind of took me back to Dublin again, where we were staying. No, it was Kilkenny, I think, in Ireland. We stayed in this place. It was like a 4-story place that was exactly like if you've seen Paddington. It was like that, like the Paddington house with the stairs in the middle, 4 stories. It felt like that, and this one took me back. It definitely did. You know, someone making breakfast down on the first floor. You got a tea in hand, maybe. I love this lighting. Photorealism is on point too. Good stuff. Fracture, we got you next. Yeah, this is just a good time right here. I love that lighting. That specific lighting coming from a TV, lighting up a dark room, is a vibe. That's a good time. That's what got me on this one. Folio. Yeah, good colors, man. Love your colors. I love the subject matter too. Nice little scientist stargazer situation, but more than just a stargazer. You got some machines and papers and data everywhere. You got wires and pipes and whatnot, but you know, you chilling, reading a book, chomping on a donut. Yeah, I dig this. This is good stuff, man. Eloy is next. We got a few more. This one came darn close. I picked winners that, to me, like having a character in the scene took it over the edge. So I think if you would have had a character in here, that would have maxed it out for me. But my God, your colors are incredible. Your render quality is incredible. Your lighting is incredible. Your materials are absolutely insane. Yeah, this looks beautiful. Super solid on the lighting. The lighting and the colors is what gets me on this one. Very nice. Next is Vinland, Cozy Vinland. Yeah, we've seen a lot of these. We've seen a lot of these like isometric kind of renders. You know, I think they are, we see a lot of them. I'll say that. We see a lot of them. However, I really like your lighting here. I like your setup. It seems like it would be a really fun place to be. That bed up top with the Christmas lights. That's a vibe for sure. So I wanted to shout you out, man. Good stuff. CJ Hash, second to last here, but in no particular order. This one is disgusting, to be honest with you. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way at all. It's darn cozy. It's super cozy. But it's also disgusting at the same time. It's very well rendered, very well animated. I love your colors. I love the concept, and I'd love to see more of this. Very good stuff. And finally, the final honorable mention is Billy Maniatis. Yes. This is one of the early renders that I saw on the Discord server. Your color is nice. You know, the scene is nice. My favorite thing about this is this girl under the floorboards, like not in a chill way. She's hiding under the floorboards in a chill way, and I'm down for it. I love that so much. Having a little secret area. Like there's nothing chiller than a chill spot in a secret area. And this really got me. This one got me. So good stuff to all you guys. Congratulations to the 5 winners: Oren Cloud, Ronin, God dang it, who else? To Oren Cloud, Ronin, Under, Vazy, and Yossi GMB. Congrats to y'all. And to all their honorable mentions, congratulations. This week's challenge, I believe, Soto, correct me if I'm wrong, is huge. Is that right? Yeah. So you guys have this week on the Discord server. The link is in the description to check out the weekly challenge. And we're going to do the live review once a month when I do live streams. But usually throughout the week, I'll just record like a little segment and post it in the winners channel on the Discord server. So you all have ranks and badges attached to your name on the Discord server, and the more art you put out, you get a point for participation, you get 5 points for an honorable mention, and you get 15 points for a win. And you get these really cool like 8-bit badges, kind of like Pokemon badges that level up as you level up as an artist. So it's just a really cool thing to make creating art just a little bit more fun. But y'all, wow, what a stream. That was a really good time. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll take the last 5 minutes with y'all here to do a Q&A. If you guys have any questions for me, just at me here in the chat. And I'll be hanging out with y'all. Grab some water. I hadn't drank a sip of water that whole time. My throat is sore. Woo! Yes. Yes, indeed. Ronan, you got to think about who you're going to give your challenge winner role to out of the honorable mentions. What y'all doing? What y'all up to right now? Logan, is that a window or a light? There's a window. There's a window back here. Let's see if I can stop down. Oh, now it's an auto. Okay. Yeah, it's a window. It's like, it's this same material right here, but the sun is just coming down on this side. So it looks like a light. Have a tub, dude. I'll have a tub. I'm gonna next stream, I'm gonna do it from the bathtub. I think I'm gonna do it. Let's see. Who else? Oh, William Fauché is up in here? Yo, what up, William? Dude, we were talking about how you stayed up till like 4 in the morning to do the judging stream. That was like nearly a 5-hour stream. With the hour tech check before as well. You were up for 6 hours. My goodness, dude, you're a champ. So good. If you guys don't know William Fauché, check out his channel. It's spelled William like Faucher, Faucher, William Fauché. He's got the best Unreal Engine tutorials if y'all are trying to get good. What else? How do I personally beat procrastination? With a cane. No. You know, that's a good question. So I've been writing a movie, waking up every day and spending an hour at least to write. But I was on a good roll. I was on a good roll until I went to Yosemite for my bachelor party, and then came back the next. It was a week-long bachelor party. Came back the next week, had my parents in town, my fiance's parents in town, and didn't have any time to write. And then now that all that is back to normal, I'm having trouble stepping back into writing. And like, I'm just tired. I'm tired, you know. I want to just rest. I want to sleep in. But I feel guilt from not writing. I know I should be. So what do I need to do? Honestly, I just need to sit down and write. It's a big priority of mine. I think procrastination happens to all of us. And I think the better reason we have to do what we're trying to do, the more we'll actually do the thing, right? So if you just want to like learn a new language just because of it, then that might not be a strong enough reason. But if you want to learn a new language in order to connect with your wife's parents when you see them, that's a better reason. That's like maybe not a better reason, it's a stronger reason. So consider why you're doing it and see if it's worth doing it, and if it means a lot to you. Then I think if you can think about that, then you know it's an important thing that you should be doing. What else? Let's see. Pipoxo, what's up, dude? Great stream talking about characters. I have the sketchbook in hand, and drawing a quick character every day is a great way to discover a style. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Drawing a character every day is a good way to discover a style or a new character, perhaps. You know, that could be a cool thing to do in 3D. I feel like a sketch is a lot easier to do when you wake up, go to a coffee shop maybe, or just in your bedroom, do a little quick sketch. I think 3D is a little bit more involved, but I like that. I like that. It's very nice. Let's see. Can you do a segment in the live stream where you react to every submission and give suggestion and feedback for beginners? Oh man, that would take a lot. I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I try and keep it as distilled as possible, you know. I think doing stuff like this hopefully helps y'all. I'll mention a thing or two on the weekly challenges, like y'all just saw me do. Granted, it usually is just like me saying the things I like versus the things that I think could be constructive criticism. Maybe the next time we do a live judging stream for the next community challenge, whenever that comes along, which will be later this year. We're trying to do 2 a year. Maybe instead of just good things to say, we say good things, but we also say a constructive piece of feedback as well. I definitely hear you on that. Let's see. Yeah, hey, you know, good stuff. Just take a step back when you feel like you're disconnected with your hobby. That's very good advice. We were talking about that earlier. If you feel like you're not having fun with your hobby anymore, take a break. Just take a break from it. It'll come back. You know you love it too much that it'll just disappear like that. Ali Abbas, it was fun watching your stream while doing calculus. Greetings from Pakistan. I'm glad you were able to focus on your calculus while watching the stream. I hope you're having a good time in Pakistan. That's awesome. That's a part of the world I've never been to before, but I'm down to travel. I love traveling. So maybe one day I'll make it out there. Andra, can I talk about my Infinite Journeys render? Sure. Let me just take a few minutes. Let's see. Let me pull this submission. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Boom. All right. So this art here. Well, I wasn't too happy with it, really. Yeah, I wasn't too happy with this one. It didn't really feel special to me. Maybe I just need to take a break from it. Maybe it's fine. But I feel like I spent way too much time modeling details that wouldn't be seen. I wish I could have had more in the background to communicate the sense of speed, because right now it's just kind of like camera shake that's doing it. Yeah, I don't know. Like the character, it's fine. I'm looking at it now, like it's fine. It's okay. It's funny that you guys recognize the helmet too. I know nothing about racing, and you're all like, "Yo, that's this dude's specific helmet." That's hilarious. I switched out all the logos for Rococo and Maxon and Infinite Journeys, Wacom, MoGraph, all that good stuff. Yeah, my halfway through this project, I got really down on the way it was shaping out, you know. I felt that no matter, like, I set myself up for the most difficult thing possible, which is just an infinite detail of 3D modeling. I could have been 3D modeling still to this day. Because what I set out to do was build a cockpit scene in the foreground. And a cockpit, that is a very detailed setup. There's a million switches and knobs, and like it would have taken me months and months and months to do this thing justice. I wanted to have more wires and circuitry hanging around. I wanted to have more dangly bits, like being affected by the G-forces. There was a lot that I just couldn't do, and I had to kind of cut it off at the end because I ran out of time. And it all came down to time management. And the idea, perhaps, you know, I talked about how in my mind I had a month plus. I had a month and 2 weeks because technically I didn't need to come in at the finish line, because as long as this was done for the top 100 montage, I had 6 weeks. So I had 45 days. But no, I didn't really have 45 days because I'm not working on the weekends. You know, I had like half that essentially, especially since I was taking time, taking half days to work on the art. I wasn't doing a full 8-hour day on this. So I only had like a third or a quarter of the time I set out, I originally thought I had. And my idea was so darn ambitious, it was probably a true 45-day, 8 hours per day idea. And I didn't have that. So I bit off way more than I can chew. I underestimated the amount of work that would go into this. I underestimated the amount of days I really had. And, you know, some of you guys might be looking at this and be like, dude, this looks great. What are you even talking about? But this is just me personally. This is all personal, right? I wanted to do so much more with it. So I learned so much just from coming through this, feeling like I failed. Knowing that in the future, I need to be a little less ambitious and give myself room to breathe. I wanted to do a lot more compositing on this too and have a lot more depth in the scene. And I was also doing a lot of details and spending time on things that weren't seen, you know, like the scratches. I spent a whole stream texturing that monitor on the right, probably like 4 hours. And honestly, that's just a basic material. I didn't need to do any surface imperfections on that thing. The only surface imperfections you can see is like on the race chair on the left, the window for sure, which is like the easiest thing. And then maybe on the materials on the bottom by the shifter little piece. But yeah, I just felt like it could have used a lot more detail that I didn't have time for. But I don't know. All in hindsight, the video I'm putting together, breaking down this scene, I go into everything. I go into everything I'm talking about and more. I get into how I specifically modeled it, different tools that I used, all while kind of like reflecting on the things I think I could have done better with. And it ends in a positive way. Absolutely ends in a positive way. Because I would rather have gone through this and know, like, it's about time. It's about time I start taking on a little bit less and maximizing a simpler scene. I want to maximize a simpler scene as opposed to coming in under the finish line on an insanely ambitious scene. If you guys know Cornelius Domrick, he is an absolutely incredible 3D artist. I believe he uses C4D and Octane. And he's very well known for his incredible amount of detail. And he did a piece of art. It was like the Mars 2048 or whatever piece of art with like the astronaut looking up at like a wall. And it's lit during the day. It's like blue-orange. There's a little robot on the right of like a sci-fi city. And I think that took him 8 months, you know. I love his art because of it is so detailed, but I don't have 8 months to do one thing, or at least for the challenge, you know. So I'm learning a lot, guys. I'm learning a lot all the time. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to me there. Look out for this breakdown. It's gonna be in 2 weeks on the 16th, Saturday the 16th. Lots to learn on that breakdown for y'all. So mark your calendars. Thank you guys. I think it's about time to call it. I don't know. Got anything else here? I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me, for learning with me, for learning and growing together. And I will see y'all 2 weeks from now. Pre-edited video breakdown for my Infinite Journeys scene. All the things I learned, how I'm going to do things better in the future. So y'all take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the Discord server, and have a good one. Peace out. Later, guys.